live on Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews. Yes. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another live stream discussion. Man, it's been a while since we did this, almost a month ago. But you know what? We got to keep this party train going. I got a few ideas I want to do as far as live streams is concerned. And we now have a great topic. Now, before we go into the topic, ladies and gentlemen, let me give a huge apology. I know that I advertised that my friends and I were going to do a King Kong live stream discussion. We're going to talk about Kong, the films, our favorite collectibles towards the films or pertaining to the films, And we were going to talk about why, if there are not too many King Kong collectibles, especially from the Toho films. And a couple people that I wanted to have on the show, something happened and those two individuals couldn't make it. And it's all good. But one of them in particular had really the inside scoop as to why that is. They have more information about the whole rights, legal issues involving Kong and just the messed up gray area that, that Kong has been under for the past, I don't know how many years. So because of that, I decided to switch gears, and I didn't want to not give y'all a show this evening. So my friends and I decided, you know what? We're going to give you a show anyway, and we're doing nothing but a Godzilla Heisei films and collectibles discussion. And along with myself, of course, I'm Leslie Chambers. You already know that. We have, of course, William Fett from the Godzilla Files. How you doing, William?
Hey, everyone. I'm doing good tonight. Can't wait to talk about some Heisei Godzilla.
And of course, from Cincinnati, Ohio, Monarch Post 69, Cincinnati, Ohio, we have Phillip Frazier, also known as Phil the Kaiju King. What's up, Phil?
Hello, Leslie. How you doing? I'm doing good.
And of course, last but not least, Monarch Post in Odessa, Florida. Right, Matt? Is Odessa, Florida?
Yep.
Yes, of course, yeah, Matt Jacobson, but may know him better as Gojira 851. Thank you for being part of this discussion. How you doing, man?
Doing well. We're talking about the Heisei series. Not really an expertise, I would say, but my favorite. So can't wait to get going.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, like I mentioned, we're talking nothing but the Heisei films of Godzilla, as well as the collectibles, our favorite collectibles towards those films. Once again, Kong will be coming at a later date. Don't know when. I'm probably going to shoot for November because honestly, I already got October booked up. But trust me, Kong will be coming. We will have it done before Godzilla vs. Kong hit theaters next year, because that's something I really want to talk about. But we're going to talk about nothing but the Heisei Godzilla films. And before we get into Godzilla 1985 or the Return of Godzilla 1984, of course, we got to give some perspective on these films. After the end of Terra Mechagodzilla, when we saw Godzilla go off into the sunset and disappear into the ocean, a sad moment because that was the end of the Showa series, of the Showa Godzilla film series. Even though it wasn't planned to be the end, unbeknownst to everybody at the time, they were making the film. That was the last Godzilla film from the Showa period. Even though they tried to do some things in between Terra Mechagodzilla and Godzilla 1984. But they just couldn't get it together to make any of those supposed projects. So by default, Terra Mechagodzilla earned the distinction of being the last Godzilla film from the Showa series. But then they decided to come back with Godzilla in the mid-'80s. And they even had, I read this and I got some, I did some research on this. They actually were going to have Dr. Hayashida, you know him, the guy from Godzilla 1985. They were going to actually have the guy who played Dr. Serizawa played him in 1985, but unfortunately he succumbed to cancer before production got underway. So that's how they got the guy from Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster, to play Dr. Hayashida. And it was established then that, even though the Showa series was a great series of films, awesome films, we all know that, they felt for Godzilla, for them to bring back Godzilla, they basically had to bring him back to his dark nuclear holocaustic roots. So they decided to ignore every film that happened between Godzilla Raised Again, the Terra Mechagodzilla, and only acknowledge the original. So that's what led us to the Return of Godzilla 1984. Now, but before we go into the films one by one and talk about our favorite collectibles from the films, let's give our initial thoughts of the series as a whole. just our initial thoughts, and then we'll go into Godzilla 1985, and we'll go from William to Phillip to Matt, and I'll finish up on the tail end. So, William, the floor is yours. Your overall thoughts on the Heisei series as a whole.
Overall thoughts, you know what? One, I think the special effects are a huge step up from the Showa period. I mean, that's without saying. Everything looks amazing. There are some really good movies to be found in the Heisei period, and then there are some that are not so great. But I do like the fact that it is all one continuity. You know, the story from 84 or 85, however you want to do it, goes all the way to Destoroyah. So I definitely think that's one of the best things about it, because the show always had this kind of weird continuity where the films before it always took place, but they never really referenced them in any kind of direct way. But these films actually do reference each other. So I actually do like that a lot.
All right, Phillip, you're up next.
Yeah, I agree, especially with the special effects and the suits. The suits are a lot well done, I think, especially Godzilla suits in the Heisei era. I mean, I think everyone loves the 91. That's no doubt. And the continuity also, the continuity of the films, they kind of all tie together. That's pretty cool that they did that, because some of them in the show it didn't tie together at all, really. And I love the 84. I love how they brought him back in 84, and how they ended it with 95. It was pretty apropos, I think. But I love the series in general. There are a couple that aren't as good, but overall, I love the Heisei era. I would say.
Thank you very much. Matt, you're up next. Now, I know, ladies and gentlemen, this will be no secret, especially if you're a follower of Matt's on his great YouTube channel. You should know the Heisei film series is in fact his favorite. Like, you know, the Showa series is mine and William and Philip's favorite. But we got to bow down to the Heisei King right here. So I know he has a lot to say when it comes to the Heisei. So, Matt, the floor is yours. Go for it, dude.
Well, the Heisei series is my favorite. From 84 all the way to 95. I love Godzilla 1985 as well. We'll get into that. The Showa series I really enjoyed as well. It's not that I dislike any of the other series more. It's just the Heisei series speaks to me more, and hopefully I'll articulate that a little better when we actually get to the discussion of the films. But the thing that really bothered me, well, not really bothered, but really confused me, is that when I was a lot younger, I saw Destroy All Monsters for the first time. And I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure some would say this is a throwaway line, some say this is canon, but apparently Destroy All Monsters not only was supposed to be the original ending to the Godzilla franchise, but it was also much later in the future as well. So they said in 1999, all Earth's monsters go to Monster Island, stuff like that. And then after they continue the series, it seemed to go back in time, back into your late 60s or your early 70s. So that always confused me a little bit when I was younger. But then eventually I got on top of that. With the Heisei series, everything flows from one film to another, with the exception of one. One film kind of ignores other parts of the Heisei series, except for maybe 2 or 3 characters. But it's the story. I just love it. It feels like a complete story that I'm watching from beginning to end. Not have to worry about going back in time and worrying about whether this is here, whether that's there. The suits are all amazing, with the exception of one movie where you see where the budget and where their money starts to run out for Godzilla films, unfortunately. And just the emotional, grip that it has on you, whether it's you're rooting for nature, you're rooting for a family, you're rooting for, the bad guys get beaten up, where you're worried about evil doppelgangers. It has everything, and it's just awesome. And plus, with the final film, the Heisei series, it brings back a very haunting enemy for Godzilla to battle. Once again, we'll get into that. So, yeah, Heisei series is my favorite, and that's why. And I'm done.
All right, now my overall thoughts with the Heisei series is my second favorite series from Godzilla. Actually, the way the series has evolved over time is like, you know, how I look at them. Show is my favorite, Heisei is my second favorite, and Millennium is my third favorite. But one thing that I love about the Heisei series, and Matt, you just mentioned it, I love how it's really all the films are like a part of one cohesive storyline. One movie flows into another one, and into another one, and to another one. The Showa series, as much as I love them as films and as a film series as a whole, they were pretty much all over the place, which is fine. And that's honestly, I think that's the beauty of the Showa series, the fact that they took Godzilla in so many different directions and you didn't have like one continuity. I think that's really the beauty of the Showa series. But the beauty of the Heisei series is the fact that it was one cohesive unit, one cohesive storyline from 84 all the way to 95. Even the characters are cohesive. You know, Mechagodzilla, you know, she's by far my favorite character in all these films. And in fact, that made the most appearances within these Godzilla films, at least the same appearance, at least the same character made the same appearance, made the most appearances in these films. But what I love about the Heisei films, what I love about Heisei films also is the fact that when I started watching these films growing up, I was exposed to a lot of different Godzilla films all within one time period. Like I saw the original 1954 Godzilla, or Godzilla King of the Monsters with Raymond Burr, Monster Zero, King Kong versus Godzilla, Godzilla versus Gigan, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Then I saw Godzilla 1985. And once again, when you're exposed to all those different characterizations of Godzilla, it's you know, of course I'm a kid and I'm going to enjoy it no matter what. But still, it's kind of hard to keep track. Like, okay, he's a bad guy in this one. He's a superhero in this one. Now he's back to being a bad guy in this one, you know? So I was trying to figure everything out for the most part while still having fun doing it. And what I love most about the Heisei series, because after Godzilla 1985, I was totally unaware that they were still making Godzilla films. You know what I'm saying? After we see Godzilla fall into the volcano in 1985, and we'll touch on that briefly, I thought that was the end. I thought, like, okay, he's dead. He ain't coming back after that. I didn't know what to expect. But then when I saw, you know, Biollante, and then I found out, oh, wow, they're making more Godzilla films, that actually made me more excited, you know? And that's one of the good things I will actually say about Godzilla 1998, because with that film, they did bring out the Heisei films on DVD. So at least 98 film is good for something. Hey, look, I know some fans out there love 98 Godzilla. Like Liam Foley, he's in the chat. He loves 98 Godzilla, you know. But hey, it was good for something. So after seeing the rest of the Heisei films on DVD and on Blu-ray as of late, I'm like, you know what? It really is a good collection of films. The suits look awesome. You know, they really improved on the special effects. You know, I also feel as a minor criticism, I did feel like they did get lazy when it comes to special effects and storytelling, but we'll get to that point once we get there. But I feel as a cohesive unit as a whole, the Heisei series, if you want the force of nature Godzilla, if you want the Godzilla that is not too much of an evil villain, but just a monster that is unleashed upon the world, and now we're trying to find a way to coexist with them, you can't get no better than the Heisei film series. All right, so with that being said, let's go into the first film of the Heisei film series. Even though officially it's a Showa film from the time period, but us Godzilla fans unofficially call it the first film of the Heisei film series. And of course, I'm talking about The Return of Godzilla 1984, or as it's known here in the United States better as Godzilla 1985. So, William, the floor is yours. What's your overall thoughts about this film, and what is your favorite collectible from this film? And what do you want to see that has not been made yet if you were in charge of a company? William, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, first off, I mean, I got to see the international cut maybe 2 years ago for the first time, because I think was it Kraken Releases decided they were releasing a lot of these stuff on Blu-ray. So I only ever had the Godzilla 1985, and I always really liked it. You know, it's definitely it's a different cut of the film. Like, if you watch both versions, the international dub is a lot closer to probably what the Japanese version was. You know, it's definitely more serious in tone. There's less Dr. Pepper in it. There's a lot there. I believe it or not, when I saw this when I was younger, I kind of was not that interested in it because Godzilla wasn't fighting another kaiju. But as I've gotten older, it's actually been a lot more enjoyable. I think the special effects, for the most part, look amazing. The robotic Godzilla looks passable for the most part. I know he's like a fan favorite of everyone's, and he does look very passable. But yeah, it's great. It has emotional moments. I love the fact, the whole ending itself is, I think for any Godzilla fan is somewhat emotional, especially depending on your age when you saw it. We had only seen Godzilla, quote unquote, die maybe once before, and that was in the original. So, that was always an emotional something there. And we got introduced to Super X, which throughout the Heisei period is a really great super weapon. It's one of my favorite super weapons that comes at Godzilla. So there's a lot of stuff here, and it's a great starting point. And I think that's the best thing about the film is that you don't have to know about Godzilla to watch this film and enjoy it. And I think that's the best thing because it's an entry point for people who might not want to go into the Showa period. As far as collectibles go, this is the one film that I don't have anything for. I know. But the reason is because I think this happens like every couple of weeks on the X Plus group. Someone posts, when are we going to get the, Return of Godzilla Yuji Sakai figure? I think that's a post that comes up every 3 weeks. So knowing my luck, I would go grab the X Plus 30 centimeter that they've released, and then 2 weeks later, that will be announced. So I am waiting for that one, and I am sorry for everyone that's waiting for that as well, because I feel like that's on me. I haven't. Every time I go grab a X Plus figure, Yuji Sakai usually releases his version of it in a couple of weeks.
Well, don't fret. I'm sorry, Phillip, I'm going to cut you off, but don't fret, William, because in a few seconds, I know myself, and I know Matt in particular, we're going to show you a couple of items that you may want to be interested in, especially if you want to get into 84, but more on that later. All right, Phil, you're up next. Go for
it. 84, like I said, it's tied with 95 for my favorite film. I can't really decide between the two as far as the era. But I love the way it set it up and the way it really brought him back. And when you first see him and the guy runs out of the facility and he looks and it shows his foot and the camera just starts panning up, shows his leg. And of course it shows his head and you get that classic 84 roar. It's awesome. Then he goes and does this right in that scene when he pulls the reactor out. And there's so many scenes in the movie that are epic with Godzilla. And like William said, there is no other kaiju, but I love the scene when he's coming ashore and the military is just lined up and attacking him, and it shows his bloodshot eye, and next thing you know, the atomic breath just takes out the whole shoreline, and it's like it's nothing. Like, this is so awesome. And then the Super X is awesome, and actually the Super X, what did you do? Knock him out? Gave him some antacid or something? I don't know. The scandium cells.
Very juicy from Kong.
I'm just laughing because the way you describe that scene, and I'm having in my head of Godzilla crawling, and they do like a little zoom in close of his eye, and he shows his eye, and it's like you just laughing there, like, are you fascinated with people dying at the hands of a giant monster?
And he just wipes them out, man. Everyone just shoots it all the way down the shoreline, and everything's gone. And then the Super X takes him down, and the most annoying thing to me was a flock of birds destroyed him in the movie. That's what took him down. I mean, it's kind of goofy, but
I can't defend that. So you're right.
Yeah, I didn't really understand that. That's the only part of that movie I don't understand, but the rest of it's awesome. I just love that movie. And the figure I would want from the movie, 30 centimeter scale, diorama base, is the destroyed building with 84 collapsed into it, knocked out when the Super X took him down. That's what I would want from that movie as far as a figure.
Okay.
What's your favorite one in your collection? I think I have an idea, but just say it anyway. Right there. Go ahead and say it.
Right here.
Shocker. I'm shocked. Good one. Good one. Good one. Matt, go for it. I mean, Jesus. I mean, you named your daggone YouTube channel after this movie, so go ahead.
So yeah, the purpose behind my name, Godzilla A51, that was the first Godzilla film I've seen in my life. Was Godzilla 1985. I remember being in the car seat at the mall when my parents picked it up on VHS. I wouldn't put it down until we got home, and they had to put it into the VCR and play it for me. Yeah, I remember watching the whole thing. And by the way, there were extra kaiju in the film. Remember the sea lice?
Oh,
that's right.
Those were technically kaiju. I jest. I'm sorry. Okay, so it's an excellent film. For the longest time, I watched Godzilla 1985, and like Leslie said, I thought it was the end. The way how the film ended, how could you possibly survive falling in a volcano? That makes no sense. And then coming to find out later that, the films continued on after that. But Godzilla 1985 was just amazing. The way how Godzilla looks, he looks like an updated version of the way he did in the 54 film. He's got the fangs, he's a lot more buffer. The ears also, he has like the little goblin ears as well. Everything's more, updated. The face, just it reminds me of the 54 Godzilla, and plus the roar as well is an updated version of the 54 roar as well. So good stuff there. The effects, especially with his atomic breath, just looks awesome. It's like you're in the path of that, and you have no choice but to just be disintegrated, like the soldiers on the little in the port or whatever that was. Okay. The battle with the Super X. Yeah. All right, I'm going to geek out and nerd out. Those are cadmium missiles. The cadmium is supposed to soak up nuclear energy, and since Godzilla's made of nuclear energy, that's what knocked him out. But the electrical, nuclear, lightning stuff re-energized him, and that's when he came back and kicked the crap out of the Super X. Yes, I'm a nerd. Deal with it. Anyway, so it was much later on that I actually saw Godzilla 1984, and I bought it on Japanese DVD, which played on my PlayStation 3. If that thing plays anything. And let's just say it's very different than 1985. Politics-wise, I don't really want to go into all like the different political things, but it's a lot more serious film, like William was saying. All the funnier stuff was taken out, like the Dr. Pepper and the two soldiers, the general and the redhead guy. I can't remember if he's a major or he's a lieutenant, whatever. But the main thing that I missed about the Japanese version was the inclusion of Raymond Burr. Now, 1985, it seemed a little weird to have him in it. He was in the original film. Originally, they wanted him to do, more comedy stuff in 85. He flat refused, so that's a complete disrespect to the character and all that. So they wrote him more serious. And the main thing that I really missed from the 1984 version was his ending speech, playing against the music and seeing everyone's reaction to it. Very powerful scene, but both versions are incredible. If you haven't seen them, I know Kraken released 1984. I can't help but laugh at that version because it sounds like the same person is doing everyone's voice in it. So if you can, if you can, hunt down the Japanese just DVD version and put it in a game system. I only bought my version for like $20 on eBay from someone, and the rest of them I got on Amazon from this one lady. Her name was GMK Girl. So yeah, I definitely recommend getting the Japanese version, but the 85 version, there seems to be a problem with the 85 version. Mm-hmm. I'm rambling now, aren't I? But last thing, I swear. The 85 version can't be released officially on DVD because of the licensing rights. I think it was Touchstone that owned it. I forget, but I did find a copy of it at a horror movie convention. There's this horror movie convention called Spooky Empire. They come once a year, and went one year, and someone had a copy of it on a DVD bootleg, and I bought it for $20. It has the entire rip of the Laserdisc version of Godzilla 1985 on DVD, plus all the trailers for all the American trailers. So yeah, that's a little fun thing. Okay, I'm done.
What's your favorite collectible and what do you want to see? What do you want to
My
see?
favorite collectible right now is the 30 centimeter Godzilla 1984, but then again, I really love the 25 centimeter as well. What would I like to see from this? Perhaps a blue dorsal plated version and a blue mouth Godzilla 1984, like he's about to breathe fire. Yeah, I think that would be great. So, yep, that's me.
All right, before I go into my thoughts of Godzilla 1985 and my favorite collectible, Paul Hillman in the chat wanted me to address what is my opinion on SH Monster Arts. Let me give like a little small answer here. I dabbled in SH Monster Arts, but for me, it's just not something I'm willing to go into. I tried it, but it just wasn't something that I knew that I was going to latch on to, like X Plus and Model Kits. It's a great company, and they provide great products. I think Matt would be more suited to answer this question than me, but for me, it's just not for me. But I can see how it can be for other people. You know, that have a great roster of monsters. Articulation is great. The accessories that come with them are great. I highly recommend them if you're in that type of stuff. If not, then it is what it is. Like I said, Matt can talk more about that. Far as 1985 Godzilla or Godzilla 1985, between the two films, I actually prefer 1985, and I know that's something that some folks don't really like. Don't get me wrong, 1984 is a great film, powerful film. I just think 1985 was better paced. It was edited better. It presented the story in a fashion that I was able to keep up with it. Because in 1984, there are some scenes where they just show Godzilla just standing there, not really doing anything. But if you cut a little bit here and a little bit there, you can, make a better pace movie. So that's why I prefer 85. In fact, I prefer, when it comes to the original, I prefer Godzilla King of Monsters over the original. I'm just looking at it from entertainment standpoint, not trying to say that King of the Monsters is a better film quality-wise than the original, because I don't think anything can top the original in both cases. But for entertainment purposes, I enjoyed the Americanizations of those two films. What I love most about Godzilla 1985 is, even though this Godzilla design is awesome, he is scary looking. He is just, even with his mouth open and closed, he just looks so evil looking. But when you, hold on a second, hold on. Come on in. We're talking about the Heisei films. What you doing with GMK up in here?
Ain't a party without GMK.
But we're talking about the Heisei films.
Don't matter. Me and him were hanging out.
Sit right here and say hey to everybody.
We wanted to bust in and say hey.
Say hey to everybody. Fella, my wife is here. Say hey to everybody.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good.
I know y'all laughing, but this is my babe right here. I love him. I love him. He's in my bedroom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is the Leslie's in the bedroom. He's in the bedroom. You know what I mean? Y'all enjoy. I have to surprise him sometimes. You know what I mean?
You had me scared. I thought it was you can't do that. I thought it was the police.
No, you see, we would have had that, Kong discussion now,
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I mean, Kong is coming at but Kong is next week, remember?
Yeah, I know.
But yeah,
I know.
We're good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You want to sit down, or you?
I am. I'm going over here so I can make funny faces at you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm being Legion, and we're gonna.
Okay. What's Jasmine doing? Just Jasmine being Jasmine?
She's over there making her next scientific thing I gave her.
Okay. So. All right. Back to what I was saying. Gotta love my wife. Gotta love her to death. What I love most about Godzilla 1985, even though it does feature him in a more evil type of look. What I love most about him is the fact that he is not necessarily evil. You see what I'm saying? He's not really an evil Godzilla, even though he goes around and he rampages Tokyo and stuff like that. He's not like the demon from 1954, where he's killing people left and right, where he's looking at certain pockets of people to kill. You know what I'm saying? To me, this Godzilla looks very, very curious. And when he comes to a metropolitan situation, he's met with people screaming and the military trying to shoot at him. You see what I'm saying? So he retaliates. Everything Godzilla does is something that he's retaliating to something that's done to him first. And what I love most about this, besides that, is the fact that you kind of are able to get behind Godzilla, at least his characterization. You see what I'm saying? Where, you know, he is a monster, but at the same time, you kind of feel for him. And that's one of the reasons why I actually love the American version to Godzilla 1985. Because the inclusion of Raymond Burr, now mind you, he doesn't do as much as he did in King of the Monsters. But I have to say, the speech that he gives at the end really is like the main selling point on why I would recommend Godzilla 1985 over the original Japanese version. Both versions are awesome. It just depends on what kind of person you are. But for me personally, I go for the American version. It's a great film. A great film, not only as a companion piece to the original film, but a great film to start off the aforementioned Heisei series. Now, as far as my favorite collectibles, Matt mentioned this earlier, but I'm going ahead and show it anyway. 25 centimeter, 1984 Godzilla. Now, I know the most popular one is the 30 centimeter, but I kind of lean towards the 25. Also, the Devil Real, he's awesome too. So just want to put it out. William. So between these two, you know, and what I want to see as far as like X Plus made for us in the future, of course, the gigantic 84. But if not, I want to see from the favorite sculptors line, a Monster Maker 28 Cybot Godzilla or a Monster Maker 28 regular 1984 Godzilla. So that's what I want to see as far as like collectibles in the future. So that's it for pretty much Godzilla 1985 with the return of Godzilla 1984. Now we're going 5 years later. We're going to 1989's Godzilla versus Biollante or whatever you want to call her. Of course, William, the floor is yours. Your overall thoughts and your favorite collectible from the film.
So my overall thoughts is that this is actually my favorite film from the Heisei series. Like, hands down. It's not even close. This film is great. I love Biollante, believe it or not. I think she is such a unique kaiju. You know, she has a human soul mixed with a rose, petal DNA, and Godzilla cells. Like, it's so crazy, but it's somehow still pretty grounded. It's still a really dark film. It's probably second only to 84 in like its kind of tone, which is strange, but I think it's just unbelievable what they were able to do. I mean, Biollante alone is stunning work. You know, whether it's the suit, whether it's all the wire work that they're doing, it's amazing. As far as Godzilla goes, I think this is the best looking Godzilla, next to maybe the 91. This is definitely the base of how I think all of us look at Godzilla. You know, no matter what era of films you like or however you look at Godzilla, if I was to show you like a silhouette of Godzilla 89, you would know exactly who it is. And it's, I think, what everyone kind of looks to as the go-to Godzilla. So that's great about the film. The rampage that Godzilla does is amazing, and we see more of the damage this time around on the ground level, which they did in 84 as well, and I like that they could kind of continued with that. And it also had the general, what's his face? I'm blanking on his name at the moment, but that shoots the rockets into Godzilla's mouth, and he's hilarious in the whole entire film. Like, I love him. I think he's
Gondo.
Yeah. He's great. He's one of my favorite characters of all time. And I don't know, this is just a film that I've always really liked, and it's probably in my top 3 as far as Godzilla films in general goes. As far as my favorite collectibles, I'm going to say my 25 centimeter Biollante, because that's my first really huge X Plus figure. That's when I got her, I was blown away by it. It's truly a stunning piece. It's up on my shelf right now, and that's not coming. That's not coming down. And the piece that I would like to see, the thing that I would like to see them do, and every Wonderfest, I always make this post, but I would like to see a 30 centimeter Rose Biollante.
Absolutely.
It is time.
Absolutely.
It is time. This is what we need. So we got to make it happen, because I think this would be a great looking figure. The Rick could be the light up of the stomach here. Like, there's just so much you can do with it. Like, we need it.
Say it again, William.
We need a 30 centimeter Rose Biollante. It has to happen. It's got it at some point. So, but that's definitely the thing that I'm looking forward to the most once that's finally announced.
All right, Phillip, it's your turn to talk about Godzilla versus the giant tossed salad. Go for it, man.
This is probably one of my least favorite Heisei, to be honest. But I love Biollante's design and concept. I do love that design and concept, and how it's a rose and a soul of a young lady and parts of Godzilla. So I do like all that, but it's just kind of goofy, the music and stuff in it. And the way the military acts and runs, and it's like almost like a 007 movie in ways, the way they act. It's just kind of funny, I think. I in some respects, I think the way the military acts and performs in the movie, it's kind of like the American 80s action movies, kind of, I guess. So, but I do like their fights in the movie, especially the final fight. Biollante doesn't last very long, but she does put a hurt on Godzilla in that fight, and drives the vines through his shoulder and through his hand. I've got that figure, actually, the 25 centimeter damaged Godzilla 89. It's pretty cool. But that Biollante, I like that she has multi-forms in the movie. I like the whole concept of it. It just probably isn't one of my favorite movies in that series, which probably is surprising, but it isn't. As far as figure, my favorite figure of the movie right now is the gigantic 89. What I'd like to see is, I agree with William, we got to have a 30 centimeter rose for Biollante. That's long overdue, I'd say.
All right. You know what? That is surprising. But you know what? You're not the only one that has told me that they don't really understand or get the hype behind Biollante. When I went to G-Fest a couple of years ago, it was my second G-Fest. Jim Jenkins, I'm sure everybody has heard his name before. One of the elders when it comes to collectors in the collecting world. A great guy. Love him to death. But when I talked to him for the first time at that G-Fest, he told me himself that he doesn't get the hype behind Biollante, you know. So it's cool, you know what I'm saying? Not everybody is going to get, you know, popular Godzilla films. I'm sure there's some folks that don't get Mothra versus Godzilla. I mean, even though there's only 2 people that believe in that. But trust me, Phillip, don't feel bad. You know what I'm saying? You know, not everybody is going to get it, and I definitely understand. Varzilla, David Dopko's in the chat. What's up, people? Michael Eber, thank you so much for being a part of the chat. Thank you so much. I hope y'all enjoying the discussion thus far. So Matt, your turn. Godzilla vs. Biollante, go for it.
Awesome film. Love it. Both human and kaiju action. Everything pulls its weight in this. I get the saying that the music's goofy. It's very funky music, especially at the beginning of it when they're still in the G cells and they start playing that very funky rock music or just whatever that was. Biollante as a whole is an awesome kaiju. Starting off something very beautiful, but after her first encounter with Godzilla, transforming into something far more vicious. And the fight, yeah, it could have done a little bit, but you can't really do so much with a plant, you know. Yeah, see the mass of that to be able to move around, just her crawling forward like that, 100 feet or something to attack Godzilla was amazing enough. You can't really see them doing anything else with that. The human characters, we got to see Megumi Odaka start off as Miki Sagusa. Favorite character of all the Godzilla films. Great start, and she gets to carry on to all the way through the rest, but we'll get into that later. Yeah, just an awesome film. I saw this for the first time, actually from Blockbuster. They actually released it on VHS back in 1996, and I was able to watch it there. But yeah, you guys pretty much covered everything. I really do enjoy the film. If you haven't watched it, go in with a very open mind because they do try to do like secret agent espionage. They try to do, you know, the kaiju action, try to be serious, try to be goofy. Colonel Gondo is really cool as well. And just, yeah, good stuff.
Favorite collectible and what do you want to see?
Favorite collectible is the gigantic Godzilla 1989. If I had to pick a second, it'd be the Yuji Sakai Osaka. No, was it Osaka?
Yeah, but which one?
The newest one, the newest Yuji Sakai. I think
The
it was Osaka.
Closed mouth.
Yeah, closed mouth.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. What I'd like to see, well, you guys have a point there with the 30 centimeter Rose Biollante, but I'm not going to copy you. I'd like to see like a favorite sculptors line of another Godzilla 89 or yeah, pretty much that, because for them to re-release Biollante or make a 30 centimeter Biollante, I think would be quite the undertaking to do, especially if they do a gigantic. But I'd just like to see like a gigantic, like a favorite sculptors line 89. Yeah, probably from like the end of the movie when it's raining out, kind of like do like a special paint job to the skin to make it look like he's like perpetually wet, pretty much. But you know, that's just me.
That'd be cool.
It would be. Godzilla vs. Biollante. I love this film, and this film I've said many times before. I don't mind saying it again here. This is a film from the Heisei period that I would recommend to anybody. If I wanted to get somebody into the Heisei film series, this is the film that I will point to because it has something pretty much for everybody. Godzilla is on screen pretty much a good chunk of the film. Biollante is a cool character. The human cast is great. The introduction of Miki Sagusa is awesome. The story is great. The music is great. It's just an overall solid Godzilla film. And like I mentioned earlier with Godzilla 1985, where I thought he was actually dead, right? Especially in the American version, because in the Japanese version, Godzilla falls into the volcano, and that's pretty much it. And the volcano explodes, and blah, 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 blah. In the American version, he screams. And honestly, that messed me up when I was a kid, honestly. I remember I was sitting there watching it, and my mom was sitting there, and I just turned around with my tears in my eyes looking up at her. It's funny when I think about it now. I was like, Mom, is he dead? Is he coming back? I asked like 10, 15 questions, and she just looked at me and just, after the 14, 15 questions, she just got up and walked away from me. But that's how powerful that ending was. Imagine how I'm feeling when I see Godzilla vs. Biollante coming. And the first shot in the film is him in the volcano. So you know it's directly from Godzilla 1985. And I was like, yes, he survived. He's fine. He's coming back. Yeah. So that film was more so validation that they didn't kill off Godzilla. And everything that happens after that is a great, great, great film because of it. Now, I've always said that Godzilla vs. Biollante is not your typical Godzilla versus story, where the meat and potatoes of the film is about Godzilla fighting up against this other monster. If anything, the story is more revolved around, okay, Godzilla is, he's dropping hints that he will eventually pop up back into Japan. And then the Japanese people is trying to figure out, okay, we got to have this in place. We got to have that in place. So it's more of a continuation of the story to Godzilla 1985. It's just that you have another monster literally sprinkled into the story. So that's what I enjoy most about Godzilla vs. Biollante. There's more about Godzilla coming back to Japan after a 5-year hiatus, and the Japanese people, at least the military, are making steps to be prepared for it. And that was really smart. There's one thing I also love about the Heisei series, that even though it's about giant monsters, they try to ground it as much into reality as possible. And I really do enjoy that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The Showa series, it just seemed commonplace that the Japanese people are just fine. But Godzilla, Anguirus, and Rodan on an island not too far away from them where they can come in anytime they want to and crap on their cities or whatever. It's like they were fine with that. But in the Heisei series, they was like, no, we got to be prepared. So we got to have this in place. We got to have the anti-nuclear energy bacteria in place. Then we're going to move on to Mechagodzilla, Mothra, Garuda. They just prepared themselves, that we have to deal with this monster threat. Kind of like Pacific Rim. Before Pacific Rim was Pacific Rim. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's what I love most about Godzilla's Biollante. It's a great film once again. I have so many great moments of that film. The one moment I really do mark out of, and then I go into my collectibles, and then I don't want to spend too much time here. I want to breeze through these films as fast as possible. But the one moment in the film, of course, there's plenty of moments to mark out of. When he comes walking out of the volcano, when he sees the evolved form of Biollante for the finale of the film. But the one moment I always mark out of is when, after he fights the rose form Biollante, burns her up, then Godzilla basically disappears. And the military is scrambling, to cover the coastal waters, try to find Godzilla. And they surmise that Godzilla is going to head to a certain part of Japan. So they send all the military people to that part of Japan. They have this like global shot of Japan and the waters. And they show all the military people on one side. And they pan over to the left, and Godzilla was going in the opposite direction. I'm like, yes, that's smart. That was awesome. I enjoyed that. It's basically, Godzilla was like, gotcha. You thought I was going to go there, but I went there. So, Godzilla Biollante, a great film. Awesome film. Once again, I recommend this film to every Godzilla fan, casual fan, or whatever. Does it feature the knockdown, drag out, entertaining fights like, let's say, Megalon or Mechagodzilla? No, it doesn't, because honestly, the monsters are so big that all that stuff is physically impossible. But for the story, and like I said, for the continuation of Godzilla coming back to Japan after the events of Godzilla 1985, I think it's a solid sequel. It really is. Of course, they've already mentioned it, or at least Matt did. My favorite collectible from this film is, of course, the gigantic 1989. He's an awesome figure. So far, he's my favorite release of X Plus this year. Will it be topped by a certain another gigantic in a couple months? Time will tell with that. But what I want to see also, William mentioned it, rose form Biollante. Make it a 30 centimeter to go with the 30 89 that William has right there. And then we'll be good to go. So that's it with Godzilla's Biollante. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is when the series took a strong left turn. But I'm one of these fans that actually love the next entry. This next entry is probably the most polarizing entry in the Heisei film series. You either love this film or you hate it. You know what I'm saying? It's been dissected by so many different people. It's been studied, it's been broken down, and but still, I find it to be a great film. And selfishly, it's my favorite film of the Heisei film series. And of course, I'm talking about 1991's Godzilla versus King Ghidorah or King Ghidorah. Oh wow! And it's amazing that with Godzilla and King Ghidorah, coming together in a Showa series. This is the first time and only time where a movie is devoted to Godzilla and King Ghidorah fighting one-on-one. All the other films had another monster into the mix, but this is the first and only one. In my opinion, it's a great film. Period. End of story. But I'll talk about that when it's my turn. So, William, the floor is yours. What is your overall? And please be kind to this. I'm begging you, please be kind to this film. Well, all right, William, your overall thoughts to Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah.
Let's take out the time traveling piece to it, because that could be a whole podcast by itself. It's the whole entire stream by itself, because that's, even after I've seen a ton of different videos that quote unquote explain the time traveling in that film, it still doesn't really fully add up. This film is
You're crying.
So I like this film. I do. I actually really do enjoy it. But it's a very strange film, because it almost feels like a Showa film trapped in the Heisei movie framework. And the one thing that I will say is, like, after this film, the Godzilla films became very formula. Like, something happens, Godzilla reappears, fights a monster, goes on to destroy something, or the other monster goes to destroy a town or something like that. They fight again, and then Godzilla is dropped into the ocean. That's very Showa-like, especially in the beginning. In the 60s, Godzilla was always being dropped in the ocean. Then that was kind of their way of getting rid of him, because they made him so strong they didn't know how to end the film. So he always just kind of tripped and fell into the ocean.
That's true. That's true.
But this film, again, it's got a lot of action. I think that's the one thing. It's got King Ghidorah, who is everyone's favorite. And the one thing that the Heisei did so well with pretty much, I would say almost every Showa kaiju, is they updated them perfectly. Again, King Ghidorah, when people think about him, they either go with the Showa or they go with the Heisei. And the Heisei is a great addition to the Ghidorah line. He looks probably the best he's ever, even though the Showa version is my favorite. I think he's still a little bit more interesting, but he is still a stunning creature to look at, and then on top of that, you get a mecha version of him, which was even cooler. Anytime they try to make they do a mecha version of a kaiju, it always looks cool. Whether that's Kong, whether that's Godzilla, now Ghidorah, it looks great. So they're really good at making great looking kaiju in the Heisei. So that's without a doubt. But the one thing that I'm starting to notice in this film is a lot of the special effects, like him flying over the cities and him destroying things in the background while people are running away, or they have the live, Ghidorah will be flying in the background and things will be blowing up, but you'll see the city in front of them and people in cars kind of going. That starts to take more of an affront to as they travel, which I don't particularly like. So, again, it's enjoyable. It's a lot of fun. I don't think you should think about it too much, because you're just going to go crazy trying to figure everything out. But as far as a film goes, you can't go wrong with it. It's very enjoyable overall. And my favorite collectible is this guy right here, the Yuji Sakai 91. This was my first Yuji Sakai, and for a very long time, this was the only Heisei Godzilla I was thinking about getting, other than the bird, because I just thought this was perfect, and it still is probably one of his best work. What I would like to see is actually, it's coming out, I'm hoping soon, is the Mecha King Ghidorah. I'm really excited on getting that. I think, yes, do I want the Ghidorah 91? I do, but to me, I think that Mecha Ghidorah is going to look amazing. It's really going to pop, especially when I combined him with the Yuji Sakai here. I think that's just going to look so good. So that's the one I'm looking forward to the most right now.
Cool. You know what? I think that was a great assessment, because I can tell, even though I know you enjoy the film, I'm sensing that you don't enjoy it as much as something like say Godzilla vs. Gigan or Mothra vs. Godzilla.
Yeah.
It has enjoyable moments, but there are a few things that draw it back from being one of your favorites. Is that safe to say? Yeah,
it's just hard because when you said it perfectly, it's such a left turn from Godzilla vs. Biollante or even Godzilla 84. 84. Yeah, I mean, it's and I understand why, because Biollante did not do good in theaters. It was poorly received. So Toho was trying to figure out some way to bring Godzilla back, or continue the series, and why not drop Ghidorah in? So that piece all makes sense. I just think it was not executed very well. I think they were just like, let's get Ghidorah in here and let's just kind of come up with something. And they had an old Showa script in the back, and they used that.
Right. You know what? And I'll say this briefly, then we'll move on to Phillip right fast. Even though I love this film, and this is my favorite of the series, I'm in agreement with that. I just felt that for a film that featured Godzilla and King Ghidorah fighting one-on-one for the first time, I just feel the story should have been better and better executed and more well planned. But still, it doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the film. But I understand that it doesn't hit all the notes that you want to see or be entertained when it comes to a Godzilla film. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Just like with Biollante just now with Phillip. Biollante doesn't really do it enough for him. I'm sure he likes it, he enjoys it, but it's not one of his favorites. So it's still cool. And that's the one thing about this hobby and this genre, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot like a Godzilla film and still be a Godzilla fan. That's like me. I don't like the anime films, but I'm still a fan at my core. So, but that's cool. I want to celebrate that. I want to uplift that. So, if you don't particularly care for a somewhat popular Godzilla film, you know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We embrace differences and diversity here. At least I want to anyway. So, I want to thank you, Phillip and William, for being bold enough and brave enough to really come out and say how you really feel. Because a lot of folks don't want to do that, especially in this community where, you can get attacked real easily for the status quo. So that I want to say thank you for doing that. It really means a lot. You know what I'm saying? You kind of remind me a lot of my good friend, David Dobko, because David Dobko, I'm sure he won't mind me saying this. He's not really a big fan of the legendary Godzilla design, but he likes the movies, whatever. But just because he doesn't care too much of the new design does not make him less of a Godzilla fan than anybody else. And I think that's stupid that we attack our own because they don't like a certain Godzilla design. That is just stupid to me. And I'm trying to educate folks, especially newer fans that come into the genre, into the hobby, that we should really take care more of our own and embrace differences instead of being against it. Yeah. So hopefully we can get back to that. But once again, thank you, William. Thank you, Phillip, for not being afraid to say how you really feel. And so far, people in the chat have responded to it good. There's not been any kind of immaturity here, and I'm loving that. So let's keep this up, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Phillip, your overall thoughts to Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah and your favorite collectible from the film.
Yeah, I agree. This movie did take a bit of a turn from the previous two. It took some show aspects. I agree with that, some goofiness and stuff. But I do like the movie, though. I do like that design of King Ghidorah. When I first seen this movie, and I thought they were aliens, but they were humans from the future, the first thing went through my mind was this is like the Showa aliens acting like they're friends with the Earthlings, and they end up stabbing us in the back. And when I first seen this movie the very first time, I thought they're going to stab us in the back. And that's what made me think of it lending toward the Showa aspects of Showa. But as far as the movie, I like the characters. Of course, Miki Sagusa's still in it. She's in it, from 89 on. And I like that. It is kind of goofy with the time traveling and stuff. I admit that. But as far as Godzilla, it's perennially ain't that the design that Toho said, this is what we think of when we think of Godzilla, the 91. And it's an awesome design. King Ghidorah is very nicely done in the movie. And I think both their fights are very good in the movie. The first time they fight, it's really good. King Ghidorah gives Godzilla a good fight, and I think it's the best fight that he had given him to date, in my opinion, as far as them two fighting each other up to that point. I like the whole craziness, though, of them taking King Ghidorah and then making the Mecha King Ghidorah. That's pretty cool they did that. It's total science fiction fantasy, but it's cool. It's a Godzilla movie. They're having fun with it, in my opinion, and that's not such a bad thing. So, but the way it ended when Mecha King Ghidorah picked him up and took him out over the ocean and dropped and sunk in the ocean with him, it's really pretty epic, I thought. And they did a good job with the movie. It's probably on the higher end of my favorites. I was ranking them. As far as figures, of course, the 91 Sakai. I love it. I love the other 91 Sakai as well, though, especially its pose. I do like its pose. What I would want from the movie, 3 of these from X Plus.
Oh boy.
About three of these from X Plus, maybe 8-inch scale in a pack. Because this adorable little thing became King Ghidorah. That's one of the other crazy things about that movie. I had to say that. It's just so crazy, but that's what I would want if I wanted something from X Plus, would be a 3-pack of the Dorats, maybe 8-inch scale or something. But
I kind of figured that was coming. I was like, he gonna bring up one of them damn Dorats. I kind of figured that.
I've only got one. I only had one made. My girlfriend got it for me for my birthday, actually.
Great girlfriend.
Yeah.
Great girlfriend.
She got me that and Sleeping 66.
We're good. Good. That's good. Of course, Matt, I mean, it's no secret. That's the thing. Matt, sometimes he flip-flops. Like, I don't really know. I know for the longest time, Godzilla King Ghidorah was his favorite Godzilla film. But then King of the Monsters came out this year, and he kind of like said that has taken his #1 spot. So I'm dying to know if King Ghidorah 91 is still his favorite, or is it King of the Monsters? So, Matt, go for it. Let us know.
Now, King of the Monsters is still my favorite, but as far as the Heisei series is concerned, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah is my favorite of the Heisei series. The Kaiju action, this is going to sound really geeky, but I love the set design. Now, stick with me for a little bit. At the end of the film, when Godzilla battles Mecha King Ghidorah, that has to be the most real-looking city set I've seen in, like, pretty much anything Hollywood put out at the time. You know, the amount of time, the amount of craftsmanship they put towards those cities that they did for the fight sequences were awesome. Okay, plus the fight that Godzilla had with King Ghidorah when he first came out, and Hokkaido, awesome, very Showa-esque, the way how the two of them fought. You know, and here's the thing that I've kind of thought about: the Heisei series is trying to be more realistic with Godzilla. You know, they're trying to go into a backstory that could possibly fit. They're trying to explain where all of these monsters come from as well. And as far as Ghidorah is concerned, he's a space monster. As far as, going all in, having him as a space monster, in the Heisei series, it kind of would not really fit, because where do you go from there after, we have intelligent life in other worlds? So them trying to keep things, grounded, they're time travelers. Back to the Future was great. Okay, they're humans. So I understand what they did with that. I think the time traveling thing, yeah, it is a mess. I turn my brain off to it. Like, yay, they went and did this thing, and now we have monsters. Great, fine. Just the way how the human characters are in there. Barzilla in the chat said, this is the film where we first see Godzilla cry for the first time. That is true, and it was a very emotional scene where he was with Mr. Shindo and Shinjuku for blasting him to oblivion. I love the design for King Ghidorah. I think it's a great update. Is it better than the Showa? Well, that's all in the eye of the beholder. Whether you like one thing, you like another. Godzilla, this is my favorite Godzilla design. Just love the human characters. Mecha King Ghidorah was a really cool addition. I wish he did a little more. This is where you kind of get to see where they were just standing around a lot. Every time Mecha King Ghidorah would try to move, he would just immediately either get knocked down or just stop moving right afterwards. That fight felt very small compared to the first fight. The inclusion of M11, really cool character. Very goofy, very Terminator-esque. Yeah. As far as Heisei films, it's my favorite of that. Godzilla King of the Monsters does speak to me a little more. Nowadays, maybe another year or so, that might change. But as of right now, I'm still the same.
And your favorite collectible, which one to see?
Of course, the Yuzukai Hokkaido 91. The Shinjuku one is nice, but the Hokkaido is much better. Yeah. And as a collectible, I would like to see, this might sound like I'm being greedy, that's fine. I'd like to see a gigantic 91. And the Rick option, I'd like to see a 25 centimeter Godzillasaurus.
Great. Never thought about that, but that's great. You know what?
The main thing I didn't like about the Godzillasaurus is they gave him Gamera's roar, which I don't. I like his roar. Don't get me wrong. I like Gamera's roar. I'm not picking on Gamera's roar. It's just it was weird hearing it come from, Godzilla. It's a Godzilla sword. So just it was weird, but I deal with it.
Say it again. Say it, you Florida beach bum. Say it again.
I don't like Gamera's roar coming out of Godzilla's yeah. What am I going to do? I want to fly away. Okay.
Oh man, that's awesome. Hey, guess who's in the chat? Mark Sang Yang. Oh, where is he? Where is he? Hold on a second. Hold on. Y'all know where I'm going with this. Mark, he says, hey.
Kong invades the Heisei chat.
Kong, listen. You will go down here to the floor. If you don't, I'll drop the girl. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. All right. I'm going to speak through my thoughts because I want to be up here at least like another hour because I want to keep these guys here longer when I have to. Godzilla King Ghidorah is my favorite film from the Heisei series. It's my third favorite Godzilla film of all time. I feel that this film, yes, I understand the time travel problems that it has, but I think this film was better suited for Godzilla fans. I think Biollante, like I mentioned, was better suited for everybody. Even a casual fan, I'm sure, could get into Biollante more so than you can get into Godzilla King Ghidorah, especially if you're looking for a Godzilla, because honestly, Godzilla does not even show up until like an hour into the film. But once we get to that point, it's nonstop action after that point.
Yeah.
And I think the main selling point of this film is like, you're given somewhat of a backstory as to Godzilla's origin, even though it's kind of tweaked. Because in the original story, they surmised that Godzilla was a prehistoric dinosaur that was able to survive, and he hid away from all these many years. And the atomic bombs, or at least the atomic bombings or nuclear testing, woke him up and brought him back to life. And here, he's an ordinary dinosaur, and the nuclear testing, the radiation, caused him to be big, violent, and into a super creature. It just depends on which origin story you like. I like both, honestly. I love the detailed explanation here, and I like how it's left to the imagination in the original. It just depends on which fence, which side of the fence you want to land on. I like both. But I think for this story, it was great, especially since Godzilla is not around for a good majority of the film. And it's actually films like this that makes me appreciate 2014 because we know Godzilla's not in the film that much in that film. But I think the beauty about Godzilla not being on screen that much in this film is like when he does appear, it makes it a lot more special. You know what I'm saying? And of course, we got King Ghidorah to thank for that. Once again, but I feel like the story involving Godzilla and King Ghidorah fight one-on-one for the first and only time in this long franchise's history. I just feel that the story should have been better, but it's a monster film that, you know what, if you just go into it as a monster film and just accept it for what it is, not worry about, okay, they left at this time, then why is this not different, blah, blah, blah. If you just go into it and just have a good time with it, you know what I'm saying? I think all the blocks will fall where they may, you know what I'm saying? Not trying to say that it makes the film less convoluted, because it doesn't, but I think for a good fit for a film, for a monster film, it was great. I especially love the twist at the halfway point, or at least after when Godzilla beats King Ghidorah, and you're thinking, hey, everything's great. King Ghidorah's destroyed, Godzilla's back, and we all gonna live happily ever after here in Japan. No, it's Godzilla then turns around and starts killing people, and then we have to rely on King Ghidorah to take out Godzilla. So in the film, Godzilla goes from villain to hero to villain, where Ghidorah goes from villain to hero. And I like that. I don't know how y'all feel about it. I just like that twist. You know what I'm saying? It makes things more interesting. and it kind of offset the convoluted plot that preceded it. So once again, I think it's a great film. It really is. Like I said, I think it's more tailored to Godzilla fans. I think if you're a Godzilla fan, I think you will enjoy this film. Just like I said, don't try to think too much about the time travel plot or any of these time travel films. Like, very few films get the time travel plot right. Like the first Terminator does, the first Back to the Future does. But once, you start thinking about it and started putting A, B, and C, and D together, that's when you take the fun out of the equation. Once again, this is just a simple monster flick, and it was fun for what it was, and I really do enjoy it. And of course, my favorite collectible from the film is, of course, what everybody's been saying, the Yuji Sakai 1991 Godzilla, the first one. I like the Shinjuku one, but I enjoy the Hokkaido one better. As far as collectible that I want to see, of course, we know Mecha King Ghidorah is coming, but I would like at some point to have a 91 King Ghidorah. And I wanted him in a flying pose, kind of like what I got up here with the 68. I would love to have 91 King Ghidorah in a flying pose, and maybe have the Rick have 3 little small door rats as the Rick. Or, like I said, make the Rick of King Ghidorah 91, have him standing as a standard, but make him a flying one as the Rick. Because honestly, the flying King Ghidorah, he's really awesome. And I've had him since last December, and he has not taken a nosedive or nothing, S Plus has done a great job with the flying version of King Ghidorah. So if they can do that for the 91 and have like Godzilla, right there opposing him, that would be great. But at the same time, it also makes me wonder that if they're coming out with Mecha King Ghidorah and that's already a 25 centimeter version, are they going to make a 25 centimeter version 91 Godzilla to pair up with him like they did with Kaiju Ghidorah and the 2004 Godzilla? I'm like this. Any more 91s, I'm going to be fine with that. Gigantic, death for real, 25 centimeter, 30 centimeter, I'm going to get that because that's my favorite Heisei design of all time. And that's what my overall thoughts of Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. Now, the next 3 films, ladies and gentlemen, I can't speak for everybody else. I'm going to speak for myself. I'm going to have little to say. I'm not going to have much to say, so I'm going to breeze through these next 3 films. But I don't know what my co-host is going to say about these films, but I'm probably going to be the one that has the least to say. I just want to get that out of the way right now. These next 3 films, I will have to say they are not my favorites. I've been vocal about that. I've been on YouTube. These were a point in the Heisei series where I feel that things took a nosedive in terms of storyline, special effects. They okay for what they are, but these next 3 films are admittedly on my lower tier of favorite Godzilla film. They're in my least favorite Godzilla film category. So let's go with the next film. Now, William, I don't know what film you call it. I prefer the original version, Godzilla vs. Mothra, not that Battle for Earth garbage that Sony tried to put up on us. But all right, the floor is yours. Godzilla vs. Mothra, 1992.
This is, without a doubt, my least favorite Heisei film. And I can find, out of all the Heisei films, I can find something to enjoy in all of them. But this one is a struggle, and it sucks because Mothra vs. Godzilla is one of my favorite Godzilla films of all time. And they pretty much remake the old film, but add like Indiana Jones kind of esque, theme to it. And it just falls flat on its face. It's not a very good film. They tweaked Godzilla's roar, and it sounds really.
Oh God! Don't man! Oh, now I'm about to jump off a building.
It's just, I don't know. It just wasn't that great. It really wasn't, and it's crazy to think that this movie was so popular out of all of them. Like, this is one of the most popular Godzilla films. The Japanese audience loved it. They loved it so much they made the Mothra trilogy.
Right. Actually, this was the film that made the most money out of all the Heisei films. This was the one that made the most money. I don't understand that. Go ahead, William. Their taste is very different, I think, from an American Godzilla.
Yeah. Just like American Godzilla's taste is different from maybe someone from Europe, and that it is what it is. But oh man, this film, it's just everything just seems very lazy. Nothing looks as good as it could, and I kind of feel as you kind of progress through the Heisei series, Toho, maybe it was the lack of competition, maybe it just was no one was really that inspired by these stories, but the small little details that we kind of saw in even Godzilla versus King Ghidorah is not there in Godzilla versus Mothra, unfortunately. So this is probably the last one that I would pick to watch, and also tells people to go and watch.
Mm-hmm.
As far as collectibles go, I actually have to say this guy right here, the 30 centimeter Batra. This figure made me a fan of Batra. And what I mean by that is like I just said, not a very big fan of the movie in general, but going through this and just seeing how much detail is on this figure and how much detail is on the suit is stunning. And he is really cool looking. I mean, again, most of the updates have been great, and the new designs for the new kaiju look great too. But this one was just kind of, this figure is just perfect in a lot of ways. As far as what do I want, you know what? I don't want a Mothra because I don't like that design. She's like this furry flying kaiju thing, which I don't like. Probably just the flying form of Batra, I guess. In a 25 centimeter form, because I don't think 30 would just be crazy.
Yeah.
But I think that's it. I don't, or maybe the boat with the egg that they take the Mothra egg out of. I don't know. There's really not much. But besides maybe those two things.
All right, Phillip, you're up next. Your overall thoughts of this great movie?
Well, it wasn't great, but the back half of it's good to me. That I like Batra a lot. The design of Batra, the storyline of Batra in the movie, both forms of Batra. I really did enjoy that they put Batra in there, and I didn't realize you guys said it made the most money in Japan of all the Heisei. That's kind of crazy to me, but maybe it's because of Mothra. I don't know why it would have done that well. I don't know.
That's exactly why a lot of Japanese fans, at least female fans, turned out for Mothra. So,
right.
In a way, that's part of the reason why they gave her own trilogy after they killed off Godzilla in '95, because of this film more so, really. So.
Right. Yeah, it isn't got a very good storyline in it or nothing. And the fight at the end I enjoyed when Batra and Mothra decided they needed to team up to defeat Godzilla. That's pretty cool. I do have a custom commission from Mark of that end scene when they've got him picked up and they're carrying him out to the ocean. I do have a custom sculpt coming of that from Mark, so that'd be pretty cool. But it's probably my least favorite as well, to be honest, of the Heisei, I would say. As far as what I wanted, I agree with William. A flying form Batra would be really cool, I think. I think they'd do a really good job on a flying form Batra.
All right, Matt, you're up next. Where does this film sit?
This movie hurt. Okay, I remember watching this on a bootleg VHS. A friend of mine got it right from Japan, and after it was over, I took it right out of the VCR, handed it right back to him, and like, "Have a nice day," and I slammed the door in his face. Let me tell you what I liked about this movie. The end fight sequence, of course. Godzilla re-emerging from Mount Fuji was amazing, even though the roar was getting on my nerves. It's not the roar itself, the way how it was mixed. It sounded better in the later films. It's just in this movie, it just sounded like it was too new. It's like they didn't really have any like natural like gruff to it. It just sounded like it was mixed wrong in this film. The rest of the film was fine, but not in this one. Petra, awesome addition. Oh, side tangent. Mark said he hopes you feel better, Phil, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting there.
Okay. The fight with Godzilla and Batra underwater. I liked I like that scene as well. But the rest of it, the way how they were trying to just pretty much remake the very first Mothra, that got tedious. The human characters, the only characters I liked in the film was like Mickey Sagusa and maybe one of the spokespeople to G-Force. Everyone else, I just didn't really, wasn't really on with. The human character trying to, being, like just like from the film Mothra, got to steal the egg and then steal the Shobijin or the Cosmos. Just, no, no, this is one of my bottom 5 Godzilla films. It sucks to say, so I love the Heisei series, but yeah. Also, I can't stand that death ray beam that Godzilla has as well. Why does it sound like that? What is this?
Yeah, you're right. The atomic breath sounds so. It sounds so weird. He sounds completely off in this film.
Yeah, they fixed it. They fixed it in future films, mind you, but just no. Boo. If you like the film, let me get this straight. If you like this film, please don't take this as me like hating on you or anyone else hating on you. Okay, this is just how I personally feel. I know that's how everyone else in the chat or in the panel feels. Okay, but if you like this film, more power to you. And if I ever meet you, I'll shake your hand and tell you that I'm glad that you like this film. This isn't a like dump on it. It's just that's the way how I personally feel. How we personally feel. Okay, but it did do well in Japan, so obviously there's a market for someone for this film. So, yeah. Now, as far as collectibles, my favorite collectible is the Yuji Sakai 92. I love the scene where he's like walking down from Mount Fuji, heading towards the city to attack Batra. As far as you guys said, 30 centimeter Batra. And that Mothra, I wasn't feeling that Mothra as well. They covered Godzilla well enough, so yeah, that's me.
All right, I'm gonna breeze through this. Y'all said everything I want to say. Like Matt just said, if you like this film, that's cool. I'm not gonna hate you for it. It's just that for me, it's just like I said, to me, I think this is when the Heisei series took a noticeable turn. And for my opinion, it wasn't really for the better. When they start making these films yearly, I think what the MonsterVerse is doing right now, where they have like a few years between each film, even though it sucks to wait, but when you don't rush through it and have a quality story and you're given time to develop a quality story and you don't have time constraints on you, I think you get a better movie because of it. Yeah, I know, like I said, it sucks to wait, but when these films started being produced yearly, you can tell there's a difference. You can look at 1985, Godzilla 1985, and then look at Godzilla versus Mothra 1992, and there's a noticeable difference. I don't care what you say, especially if you're a fan of these films and you've been watching these films as long as we've been watching them. There's a difference in the special effects. You know what I'm saying? Especially when they have nighttime battles. Like in 1985, Godzilla looked ominous with the red glow, the fires burning everywhere, and he just looked like the biggest thing walking the earth, which he was. But when you watch 1992, they don't look as grand. I mean, obviously, when you have more monsters into the frame, of course, they're going to diminish in stature a little bit. But like I said, when it comes to storytelling, special effects, the green screening is obviously apparent when you have King Ghidorah or another monster in the background and people running. You can obviously tell that the special effects weren't up to par as the previous 2 films, or at least 3 films. But there are some things to like about this film. I do like the inclusion of Batra. I actually find Batra better in his larval form. I think he got less impressive when he transformed to his aerial form. I think had he maintained his larval form, you know what I'm saying, he would have been a monster to beat. But at the same time, this film kind of like betrays the whole concept of the Heisei series anyway, where Godzilla is the main antagonist. Now you're introducing another bad guy. Now it's confusing. Like, okay, who are we really supposed to be against? Does the appearance of Batra turn Godzilla into a baby face, or is Mothra going to go up against both of them, knowing that she can't defeat both of them? But this film, and I guess the main criticism I have about this film feels more like a Mothra film than a Godzilla film. That's the main issue I have with the film.
Yeah.
And I don't mind if they made this film to test the waters to see if they can jumpstart a Mothra film or a Mothra trilogy, I should say, or Mothra film series. But like I said, this film feels more like a Mothra film, and Godzilla and Batra to a lesser extent are just along for the ride. And that's really the main reason why I don't really like this film. And it is what it is. And it's like him, Godzilla, being the main bad guy at the end is kind of like thrown in there. It was no build up to it. It was, because most of the movie revolves around Mothra and Batra. And it's like, oh, Godzilla's in the film. Godzilla, I hate to say it, Godzilla comes across like King Caesar in 74, where he's there, but then all of a sudden he just drops off the face of the earth and he pops back up. It was like, oh, yeah, this is a Godzilla film. You are in this film. That's my main criticism of this film. It's okay for what it is. The final three-way battle or 2-on-1 battle between Mothra, Batra, and Godzilla is great. But them recycling the same story, like if you watch this film, there's no need to watch Mothra 1961. If you watch the tail end of Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, the previous film, there's no need to watch the ending of this film. The exact same thing happens. Like I said, I just feel like this film was at a point where they really stopped trying. And it made me wish that the Gamera Heisei film series were made at the same time to light a fire under Toho's ass. Like, okay, look, we're seeing what they're doing over there with Gamera. They're doing awesome. We can do better over here. But, it is what it is.
Also, wait, one sec. Remember when Mothra takes off to destroy the meteor? Whatever happened with that?
That's the thing. I haven't seen the Rebirth of Mothra film in a long time. Honestly, between the three films, I've only seen 1 and 3. I've not seen the second one. I forgot if they explained that in that film. But then again, that's the thing. It's not really brought up in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla next film. So, I just feel like this film was made to suit Mothra than anything else. And they were just using Godzilla, to probably get more people. The same thing they did with Megalon. You know what I'm saying? But at least Megalon worked. This one doesn't work. I don't care if anybody says this film just doesn't work. So, and it's funny I mentioned Megalon. I actually find Megalon to be a more entertaining film. But that's neither here nor there. But my favorite collectible from this film, actually, I'm gonna go with the original 30cm 92 Godzilla. The Sakai looks great, but I actually like the 92 better. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I'm gonna mention the Batra. This thing is just amazing on so many different levels. Made me appreciate the film even more, honestly. But what I want to see, William mentioned it earlier, I want to see a flying version of Batra. I think that's like the next one that they need to make, as far as like flying kaiju or flying version of Mothra. Even though William doesn't really care for that version of Mothra, I actually like that Mothra. She looks beautiful, even though she looks like a puffy Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade float. But I wouldn't mind having a flying version of Batra. Batra first, then do Mothra and go from there. All right, once again, this next film, I won't have much to say about it, as well as the next film after that. But here we are in 1993. We're halfway done with the films, ladies and gentlemen. We got 3 more to go, and then we'll be out of here. But yes, here we are, 1993, and they brought back King Ghidorah in 91. They brought back Mothra in 92. So you know what? Why not revamp another classic, highly popular show a Godzilla villain? And now we're going with Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 1993, or Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, or Godzilla vs. I don't know what the hell to call this film. At least in the original, at least they gave us options. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, Godzilla vs. Cosmic Monster, Godzilla versus the Bionic Monster. This one, I don't really know what to call it. I just call it either Mechagodzilla 93. I don't really call it Mechagodzilla 2 because Mechagodzilla 2 is what they call Mechagodzilla in 1970. Never mind. I'm sorry. William, go for it before I get my hands. Headache. Go for it, William.
So I actually do enjoy this film out of the next 3 that we were talking about here, like between Mothra, this one, and SpaceGodzilla. I actually do really enjoy this one. I feel like they realized that they kind of screwed up with Mothra versus Godzilla. I do think there's a little bit more push to try to make these films better. But I also think the problem is that they're coming out every year now, like you talked about, Leslie. You can tell like they don't have time to think about things, whether that's story, characters, special effects. They're just they're always in a rush. They're always producing the films. So once this one comes out, the next one's got to come out. So they're all probably reusing a lot of ideas and things like that. And this is the one that I think really starts the whole, and there was before this as well, but where monsters are just standing there firing at each other. This was something that was going on, but I kind of understood it with like King Ghidorah. You know, King Ghidorah makes a little bit of sense because he doesn't really have any arms. He can't really attack Godzilla physically in too many ways. So him staying back and firing his gravity beams makes sense. Mothra's flying, Batra's flying, so that all makes sense to me as well. But this is the one where really Mechagodzilla just sits there like a tank and just shoots at Godzilla. And it does have one of my favorite battles from the Heisei series, believe it or not, with when Mechagodzilla first fights Godzilla. I think that's a great little teaser battle because it does build up Mechagodzilla as something that could possibly kill Godzilla. And at this point of the Heisei period, there hasn't been that much that really comes close to being able to kill Godzilla. So this is the first one in a long time, you know, opponent that can kill Godzilla, at least in my opinion. But again, I just think the execution was not there. And because of that, the film suffers in a couple of different ways. Rodan also makes an appearance. You have Fire Rodan as well, which I kind of, I go back and forth with this because I don't like the fact that he's just a puppet. You know, he's just a flying model. I like him to be the same size as Godzilla, you know, a kaiju size, you know, pterodactyl in a way. So him being smaller, he's just not that impressive. I think they kind of just threw him in for name value, nothing more, nothing less. And, you know, it kind of works in a couple of different ways. As far as my favorite collectible is, I would actually say the Fire Rodan, the flying Fire Rodan. It's actually a really great piece. I know a lot of people don't like it because of the stands, but I mean, what are you going to do? I just think there's such great detail on that figure. Yep. He's great. He's a truly stunning piece there. The thing that I would like to see, either a separate Garuda, because I would totally like have them flying towards each other. I think that would be a cool thing. That's what they attack when he's Rodan.
That's how it was in the film.
But the figure that I have that I am actually pre-ordering is what Matt has, the Super Mechagodzilla. Because I went with the standard, which is a great figure, is really good, but I just saw the new Super Mechagodzilla. Like, that kind of looks a little battle damaged, and that just looks too good to pass up. So, you know, I'm trading up. So, you know, this is still a great figure, but I'm trading up to the new Super Mechagodzilla.
There you go.
All right, Phil, you're up next, bro.
I actually enjoyed this movie. It's on the upper end of my Heisei movies if I was judging them all. I liked the inclusion of Rodan, but I felt sorry for him in the movie. He was getting his butt kicked like crazy. He was just getting torched, man. Like the egg. Can anyone understand? Make me explain the egg. Was it Rodan's egg? Because when it hatched, it didn't look like Rodan, but he could communicate with it, and it looked like Godzilla. You know, it was just crazy. It was. That whole part I never have really understood all that. It's kind of goofy, but
I can.
Okay. Because I couldn't, like, you know, I didn't really get that part. But I did feel sorry for Rodan in the movie a lot because when him and Godzilla first fight on that island, he got his butt kicked pretty much, and then when he goes and fights Super Mechagodzilla, he gets his butt kicked some more. But I do enjoy the fights, both fights that Mechagodzilla and Godzilla have in the film. I agree with William. They're one of the higher end fighting sequences. even though, like you guys said, there's a lot of just lasers and atomic breath battles and stuff, but I do like it. And Mechagodzilla does feel like a real threat to Godzilla in that movie, in my view. As far as the collectibles, I would like to see either the 93 Godzilla to go with Super Mechagodzilla and Fire Rodan. I do have Fire Rodan in both versions of Mechagodzilla. I'd either like to see the 93 Godzilla or a combo sculpt of Godzilla's resurrection when Rodan is on top of him. One of them two I would like to see.
Cool. Matt, you up next.
I love this movie.
Explain that to me, Matt.
Okay. Sometimes in nature, a snake will actually climb a tree and actually go to a bird nest and actually devour an egg or two and actually lay its own eggs inside of the nest for the mother to actually take care of. So that's kind of like what they were going for. Plus, some lizards do that as well. So that's pretty much the thing that they were going for that.
Okay.
There goes my appetite.
So I love the movie. It picks up, in my opinion, this is the true sequel to Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. It starts off with them showing off Mecha King Ghidorah's head and reverse engineering him to create Mechagodzilla. The design for this Mechagodzilla, yeah, I agree. The 70s Mechagodzilla does look better. But, this one, with all the life that's in the Godzilla suit and the facial features, this one has like a stone dead look on his face. It's a great contrast between both of the, the living and the dead, or the mechanical, whatever. I love the inclusion of a baby Godzilla. One of my favorite Showa films is Son of Godzilla. The battle with Godzilla and Mechagodzilla both times was awesome. I love the inclusion of Rodan. Yes, I wish he wasn't a puppet. I wish there was someone in there, but I get what they were going for. They're trying to make it more animalistic and rather than have like more human features to it, but it's still, we like the human features too. So, the plans that they came up with trying to, go into, destroying Godzilla's second brain in his hip, that was interesting. His resurrection when he actually destroys Mechagodzilla as well after he dies, which is, that's very creepy as well. But see, I watched these movies out of order, so it didn't really hit me as hard as it hit others when this first happened. So, because originally, from what I understand, they were going to kill this Godzilla in this movie, and the final two movies were supposed to be baby/little Godzilla growing up and taking the mantle, but they changed that at the last minute. So I think this movie is awesome. I love it. Has a lot of Showa stuff going on with it. I love the Heisei moments. Mickey Sagusa is back again, just being awesome. I love the music. The music is amazing in this film. And it's another one of my favorites for the Heisei series. As far as collectibles, I have the Rick Super Mechagodzilla, which is awesome. Got that with the help of Tyler Boots Carlson as a shout out. As far as a collectible to go with him, I would like to see the Rebirth Godzilla 93, with all like the glitter all over him, because they did a Bandai Godzilla figure of that, and it looked really good. And I think an X Plus version of it would look just as good, if not better. And if we couldn't do that, then I'd say like a Godzilla 93 and the Rick Extra be a very tiny little baby Godzilla. So that's that.
All right, I'll be brief with mine. This is like my least favorite Mechagodzilla movie. It's my least favorite version of Mechagodzilla, but I love the S Plus figure, and I was really debating if I was going to get this upcoming new one, but the 2019 kind of changed that for me. So I'll be passing on that. Spoiler alert. I'm gonna try and get the Rick 2019. What can I say about this film? You know what? I appreciate this film because it did something different. Mechagodzilla is not an alien doomsday machine that is sent from aliens to destroy us. Now he's looked upon as a super weapon to defend us against Godzilla. Once again, it goes back to what I said earlier about the Japanese people being more accepting of the fact that these monsters are here, and they're putting certain protocols in place to protect them just in case one of them shows up. So it would make sense for them to build a Mechagodzilla to defeat a real flesh and blood Godzilla. But this Mechagodzilla is just, maybe because the Showa one is just so awesome, you know, the way he looks and also the way he acts. Now, the Heisei Mechagodzilla, he's just very slow. Now, he got weapons out the yin yang. I ain't going to sit there and try to downgrade that. But Showa Mechagodzilla, he also has great weapons, but he also has personality, especially the way he moves, where he can snap his head and do this. Like, he just has charisma. The Mechagodzilla from the Heisei period doesn't really have that, in my opinion. But it's still like a great machine. Like, I know my friend John Bumpus from Screen.com, he calls it Mecha Big Bird because it reminds him of Big Bird. But the inclusion of Rodan, I'm disappointed with that, honestly. Like what Phillip said, even to this day, I really don't know what to make the whole Rodan baby Godzilla thing. I know, Matt, you tried to explain it, but it's a shame that you can explain it better than the daggone film did. That's my problem with it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, and with Rodan being one of the forefathers of Kaiju, at least tokusatsu-wise, Toho-wise, there's Godzilla, Rodan, King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Mechagodzilla. And I think out of all, I mentioned this in my review of Fire Rodan, I think out of all the monsters that they brought back in the Heisei series, Rodan was the one that got the shaft. At least King Ghidorah, they brought back King Ghidorah and with a great look, and then they upgraded him to Mecha King Ghidorah. Mothra, that film, like I mentioned, is all about her. You know what I'm saying? You know, so she doesn't lose any credibility there. Mechagodzilla, like I said, he's given a new role to play by being the defender instead of the destroyer. Rodan, once again, I just feel like he would just shoehorn in there, and I think Rodan is far better than that. Like, he goes up against Godzilla. He's a quarter of the size of Godzilla, so he comes across like the giant condor from Sea Monster. He goes up against Godzilla. Am I right?
Yeah.
You know, He goes up against Godzilla. He loses. He transforms into a Fire Rodan, a more powerful version. He goes up against Mechagodzilla. He loses. But the only thing that he does at the end that really makes any sense, at least makes any kind of pivotal moment in the film, is when he sacrifices himself to resurrect Godzilla, which is what King of the Monsters inspired, you know, with Mothra. So I just felt like, you know, this film was just, it had potential to be more than what it was. It just for me, it wasn't up to par. And once again, like Matt mentioned, they were going to originally end the series with Destroying Monsters back in the day. They were going to originally end the Heisei films with this film, for what I understand. But this film did great success, which is why they continued it with 2 more movies. And one thing I enjoy about the Mechagodzilla is this one thing. He comes as close to killing Godzilla, which is something that a lot of kaiju can't say that they have ever done. Like, almost every version of Mechagodzilla has done some type of damage to Godzilla where it brings him to death almost, whether he's being bled to death in the 70s, or when they crush his brain in this one, or when he stabbed more, you know, fatally in the chest in the Millennium series. But I think this Mechagodzilla comes about as close to killing Godzilla, and that deserves like a great mention. You know what I mean? But as far as like Mechagodzilla and as far as like the design and the movies, I just find this one's my least favorite. It is what it is. It's okay for what it is, but it's just not one of my favorites. But my favorite collectible from the film, I'm torn between Mechagodzilla and Fire Rodan. I'm probably going to go with, ironically, even though I've been bashing him for the past 2 seconds, I'm going Mechagodzilla. I do enjoy that figure. Just because this film is not one of my favorites, just because he's not one of my favorites kaiju-wise, doesn't mean that I should miss out on a quality piece. And S Plus did a great job with that guy. He has a quality piece. What I want to see from X Plus is what Matt just said. I want to see a 93 Godzilla. Standard be like a regular version of Godzilla. I want the red to be like an all yellow glitter, and maybe include a light up, like make his fins light up red like it was in the film, and something like that. Or maybe, you know, since they brought out Fire Rodan, maybe they can do a regular Rodan in the brown color scheme, and then have maybe Baby Godzilla come with him as like a Rick, since they do have a connection in the film. So that's something that they could do. All right, we're like an hour and 45 minutes, and it's like 10 minutes to 8. I want to stay on board at least for 20 more minutes, and we got 2 more films to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of this discussion thus far. We're going to breeze through these last 2 films, do a couple rapid-fire questions, and then we'll be out of here. Once again, thank you, William, Phillip, Matt, for taking time to doing this. Once again, I'm sorry about the change up earlier, but y'all came through like champs for me. I really do appreciate it. Thank y'all for being such great supporters and great friends, and just y'all are awesome. Every single one of y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, please go to their individual channels, get them a sub, offer great content, awesome guys. You know what I'm saying? Take it from me. These guys are the truth. They're the reason why the hobby is what it is today. The best hobby in the world. Now let's go into 1994. And if you thought we gave 92 crap or 93, oh boy, this next one, I can honestly say this one is like the redheaded stepchild of the Heisei film series. Oh my God. It's like the Moonraker of the film series. It's like the Phantom Menace of the Heisei series. And yes, we're talking about 1994's Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. Go ahead, William.
All right, so I'm just gonna say this. This is another movie. I'm not a fan of it because logically nothing makes sense in this film. You know, throughout the whole entire Heisei period, they're always, you know, what the Japanese government does. You know, whether it's in Godzilla versus Biollante, where they have like the different alerts. You know, that all makes sense. Everything kind of seems to build on each other, like Super X. And then you go to Super X2, which makes more sense because it can fire back the atomic breath. Like everything kind of builds off what you last saw. And then you get to Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, where they decide that, you know what, we have a super weapon here in Mechagodzilla that can pretty much kill Godzilla. But you know what, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to go with Mothra, which I don't care what anyone says. I don't believe that thing was ever going to be close to beating Godzilla. Like, it just does not work on any level whatsoever. Space Godzilla, I have a slight soft spot for him only because, like, I kind of buy into the theory that the cells from Biollante that went into space, you know, formed him, you know, with the mix of the crystals and the black hole. I mean, if you like the Mothra movies a lot, then you can go with the Mothra theory. But it just, this one is a mess. I mean, his tail rips off when he's going underwater. Everything about this film. And when they're doing the green screen and you're seeing the city in front of Godzilla as he's walking, or Space Godzilla as he's walking, no one's running away. Like they're at a racetrack and everyone's just sitting there watching the race go. And Godzilla's in the background. And it's like you couldn't, like, it just, I think this is the rock bottom of the Heisei film. You know, this is the point where, you know what, like, maybe we should end it. And again, I don't like bringing down films because I'm sure there's someone in the chats or someone that's going to watch this down the line, this is their favorite film. And you know what, that's great. I hope if this film got you into Godzilla, that is fine. But this one just does not speak to me in any kind of way, unfortunately. Other than Baby Godzilla or Little Godzilla, I get them confused. He's cute. I mean, there's nothing, you can't go wrong with him. He's a cute little guy. Favorite collectible? That would be Space Godzilla. I don't have him. At the moment, he's backed up. I'm cleaning all my guys, so he's kind of backed away. But he is a great 30 centimeter. And I mean, a massive 30 centimeter when you look at him, too. He's just a huge guy. There are two that I would like to see. I would like to see Space Godzilla in his flying crystal form.
Ooh, yeah.
I think that would look really cool. Or I would like to have a separate release with Baby Godzilla that came with the 25 Space Godzilla, make that 30 centimeter, and have him released all by himself. Because like I said, that's one piece that I do really want.
All right, Phillip, you up next. What's your overall thoughts for Space Godzilla?
Yeah, this movie's definitely on the lower side too. I have to agree. I mean, the favorite part of it to me is Minya 2.0, because that's what I call that baby Godzilla. That is Minya 2.0 right there in that movie. He is adorable and cute and all that. And my favorite scene of the movie is when Space Godzilla first tries to, attract him because he thinks it's Godzilla for some reason. I mean, he kind of looks like Godzilla, but my God, he really isn't Godzilla. Like, why are you heading toward him? But and then when Godzilla shows up and starts fighting him, and then Godzilla falls over, and he runs over there, and he's like grabbing his arm, like, "Come on, get up!" That reminds me of Minya so much, and he's funny. But he's the best part of the movie, I think. I mean, the movie is red. It's on the bottom end of the Heisei for sure, but I always did kind of lean toward the Mothra thing with Space Godzilla, because at the end of '92 she flew out to space to intercept the meteor, and I kind of felt like that's how some of the Godzilla cells got up there into space, so that Godzilla took formation from that. But to me, I always thought of that's how '92 linked in with '94, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But
they give you theories in the movie itself, so you could be right. I don't even think the movie knows.
Right. But it's on the lower end, but it has some attributes that are good. But Space Godzilla really isn't much of a fight for Godzilla there at the end. And as far as the figures, I think I like the 30 centimeter Space Godzilla the best. I have the Megaera too. It's a good figure, but I'm with William. The Megaera couldn't even beat Space Godzilla. I mean, it was kind of a joke to me in the movie. So the 30 centimeter Space Godzilla is really good. I think it's better than the 25. What I would want would probably be a flying form. I do have a flying form commissioned from Mark and a 30 centimeter baby Godzilla, a set. So hopefully I'll get that before too long. But if X Plus made them, I would get them too. So, but I think the flying form Space Godzilla 30 centimeters is what I would like to see the most, I guess.
All right, Matt. You up next.
Yeah, this movie's fine. Take it or leave it. That's how I feel with it. Little Godzilla is fine. Space Godzilla, I think, is really cool. I just wish they had like a more definite, idea of what it was, whether it was from Biollante or from Mothra. Just the idea. Oh, maybe it's this, or maybe it's that. Megaera was trash. I wish they rebuilt Mechagodzilla. If it worked the first time, why not try the second time? But then again, you might say, oh, they didn't have the right parts for it, so they had to do something new. So, okay. Godzilla falling apart during several scenes. Toho didn't have the budget that they wanted for this film. They were banking on a previous film from earlier in the movie, or earlier in the year, to put towards Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, since that movie underperformed like a lot. They had like zero budget to put towards Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. So I can forgive that because they kind of like, fixed it later. Good enough fixed it. The fight sequences on Space Godzilla is just too large. I get that, but I like the character. Godzilla '94, that's an awesome design. So yeah, it's fine. It's not a film that I'll go out of my way to just pop in. I do enjoy it enough, but not enough to, die on a hill for it. So it does have its problems, but it's fine.
The one thing I will say is Space Godzilla. He kind of reminds me of like the Showa King Ghidorah, personality-wise. Like he seems to just be just evil, just to be evil. So I do like the fact that he actually has a personality, but unfortunately, other than that, with him, it's kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah. And your favorite
my favorite collectible is from Mr. Mark Sang Yang. He made this for me. It's a 94 Godzilla with red dorsal plates. Awesome. The 30 centimeter Space Godzilla is also awesome. So, as far as future release, I like to see a Yuji Sakai 94 or Yuji Sakai Space Godzilla. Both those would be great. And if it couldn't be anything else, then a flying Space Godzilla. Or, because something weird, this will sound weird, I know. If they do a Space Godzilla and they don't do a flying version, I like it to come with a Fukuoka tower. If it's like a 25 centimeter or a Yuji Sakai, just a very thin tower to go along with it, with like a little tiny base to it, just recreate a scene from the film. It's probably not going to happen because of reasons, but, just an idea.
All right, I'm gonna breeze through mine. Space Godzilla is not my least favorite of the series. That moniker would go to Mothra. It's okay for what it is. You know what I'm saying? I know this film gets picked on a lot, and with good reason. Cause like what William said earlier, this film is really a mess. It's like they threw everything together. It's kind of like Final Wars, where they throw everything into one pot. And sometimes that works if you are able to make those different components gel together, but it just doesn't work when it comes to films like this. Like if they were just stuck with just, okay, a space monster has come down to kill Godzilla, and now Godzilla has to go on to fight it. That's one thing. But then they throw in that little subplot with that guy that joined G-Force just for him to use that technology, to use Godzilla, and want to use him to use the technology to control Godzilla to take over the world at a time where a space monster has come down. It was just off. You know what I'm saying? But the beauty with Space Godzilla is like this is really the only film, and I mentioned this earlier in other videos, that this film is really the only film where Godzilla takes on another flesh and blood Godzilla. So this really is a Godzilla versus Godzilla movie, which is something I've always wanted to see. Hopefully we'll see that in the future. But really, Space Godzilla is really the main reason to watch this film. Because say what you will about the movie, as a villain, as a kaiju villain, this is like the first villain of the Heisei series that really gives the Heisei Godzilla a run for his money. He's kind of like Hedra from the Showa series, where Godzilla can't really defeat him on his own. He needs backup, you know what I'm saying? Which doesn't happen too often. And the Heisei Godzilla is a more powerful version of the Showa one, but yet he still needs help to defeat Space Godzilla. And I like how Space Godzilla, he comes down and he touches down on Bertha Bass Island. He imprisons little Godzilla, which enrages Godzilla. He really mops the floor with Godzilla. So then Godzilla then goes after him. But I like how in that sequence, Space Godzilla really could have killed Godzilla, or at least would have done some type of horrifying damage to him, but he doesn't. He just harms him a little bit, and then he just savors his time and then waits for him, and then he lands in Fukuoka, and he calls out Godzilla. I like that. I like how Fukuoka, he transforms or terraforms Fukuoka into his lair, and he calls out Godzilla. It's like, okay, come on, bring it, and Godzilla comes, and then Mothra comes. I kind of wish, like what Matt said, that they have used Mechagodzilla for this film, where we would have seen Mechagodzilla and Godzilla be on the same side, which is something we have never seen before, really. And I thought Mothra was a step down in terms of mechas. It was passable, but it wasn't Mechagodzilla. Mothra, even the Heisei Mechagodzilla, Mothra is no Heisei Mechagodzilla. But it does have some strong points. It's just not enough for me to have it one of my favorites. But there are a few things to enjoy, And honestly, I also believe that if it wasn't for this film being not so the greatest, then maybe we wouldn't have gotten the next film, which we'll be talking about in a few seconds. But it is what it is. Like, I look at this film kind of like Batman and Robin. If Batman and Robin was great, do you think that we would have gotten the Christopher Nolan Batman movies? Had this film would have been greater, do you think we would have gotten Godzilla vs. Destoroyah? It's a valid question to ask. But we'll talk about Destoroyah in a few seconds. But as far as my favorite collectibles from the film, I'm actually, this is going to be a surprising answer. I'm actually going to go with Megaera. not a really big fan of the suit, or at least the kaiju, the robotic kaiju. But when I got that figure in my hand, that was really a great figure. And even to this day, he's still great, especially when you pose him with with Space Godzilla and with the 92 Godzilla, because we don't have that one yet. Which is what I'm going to talk about right now. What I want to see is a 30 centimeter 94 Godzilla made direct, come with the in-scale 30 centimeter little Godzilla. That way you have the entire lineup from the movie. So that's pretty much it with Space Godzilla. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end. We are at the finale. We're here. Probably the most, if not the most, emotional and powerful Godzilla film out there. It does have issues, but when it comes to story, just raw emotion, you can't get no better, in my opinion, than this film right here. 1995's Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. Great, powerful film. Now, as I'm thinking about it, it's one of those films that is really heavy. And it's one of those films that, honestly, I have to be in the mood to watch it because it's so heavy. Even to this day, it's just one of those films where once it grabs you, it holds you, and you're just taken in until the end of the movie. But I'll talk more about that when it's my turn. So, William, the floor is yours. Godzilla vs. Destoroyah.
So I'm pretty sure we can all say that it's a step up from Godzilla versus SpaceGodzilla safely. I think that's something right off the bat I think we can all agree with. To me, this is a good movie with great moments in it. Not a great film, but it has great moments in this film. You know, whether it's the opening where he's destroying Hong Kong, whether it's the end where he's, you know, basically dying at that point. I mean, you can take a lot of great moments from this film. And that's the one thing I have to say is that they really picked their moments with Godzilla. They treated Godzilla with respect, and I think, and when he is melting down, they do a great thing with it. I think the music is done right. It's shot great. It's given its moment because Godzilla is an icon. You know, I kind of compare his death to kind of like the death of Superman in some ways, because it was something that I'm sure a lot of people were never expecting. And the fact that he kind of got the, you know, hero's finale, I thought was great. But doesn't mean that there aren't issues with this film. For example, when the army is fighting Destoroyah with the tanks and everything like that, like you see kind of, it's almost like the game that you see at the carnivals where you have to shoot the things down that are kind of going from left. Like they look like Bandai figures, you know, and this is the unfortunate part about the Heisei series. As it went along, the budgets became less and less. And I don't think they were savvy as they were in the Showa period. Because if you look at the budgets there, they're probably even less than what they had for the Heisei. So, you know, to me, it checks off all the boxes. It is an enjoyable film to some extent, but I would definitely have to be in the mood for it. It's sort of like the original Gojira. Like, it's a film that you kind of have to be in the mood for. You're not just going to pop it in just for any kind of old afternoon. As far as collectibles go, I mean, obviously the 25 centimeter Destoroyah, whether you have the original release or the new one, that thing it's great. I mean, I love the fact that it's as big as a 30 centimeter because the thing is massive. My wish is probably, I'm going to say a Godzilla Jr. You know, I don't think we need any more kind of burning Godzilla. You know, I think the new one that you guys have is great looking. I have the 30 centimeter. I decided to pass on the Yuji Sakai because I literally, like maybe a month or two before it was announced, picked up the 30 centimeter Rick. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to stick with this guy. And I do really like it. I think, you know, I think it's a little bit more suit accurate to the screen. But
no, it's not. The eyes are messed up. The eyes look stupid. The head is not rounded enough. The orange on his body looks so stupid. The figure looks dumb. The eyes are just so wide and goofy and cartoony looking. It is stupid.
I see someone's been on the X Plus group lately.
Yeah.
But I think the Burning Godzilla is done. We have the 25, you have the 30, you have the UG, you have the Gigantic. There's nothing more we can do. Maybe the different forms of Destoroyah, but I think I would actually go with Godzilla Jr. And maybe do what they did with the Shin Godzilla. Make a 25 centimeter version of the baby Godzilla from, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. And then the 30 for the one in SpaceGodzilla. And then, this one would also be a bigger 30. Something along those lines. I think that would look great as well. Scale them all together.
All right, Phillip. You up next. I know, like you mentioned earlier, 95 is one of your favorite films. You said this one, I think 84 are like neck and neck for your favorite. So the floor is yours. Go ahead. Godzilla vs. Destoroyah.
Yeah, they're number one tied. I can't pick between them both. I love those two the most out of the whole era. So as far as the 95 film, I remember when it was coming out and it made like the news here. They said they're killing Godzilla. I remember it on the news here in the U.S. It was such a big deal that they said Japan's killing their biggest actor. It was just big. It was a big deal back then whenever that movie was coming out that they were killing Godzilla. But they did it in a very honorable and admirable way, I think. I love his theme at the beginning. It sounds like horns or trumpets, and it's very ominous and very foreboding, his theme. I love how they did his theme. And then the music at the end when he's melting down is very haunting and very sad. And it was perfect for that scene. I thought they really did that really well. But the whole movie, like when he's chasing Junior and he's trying to get to him, and then Junior ends up fighting Destoroyah and actually puts up a decent little fight against Destoroyah at first. He survives that fight, actually. What killed him was the airdrop that Destoroyah did to him into the stadium or whatever it was. But I liked the movie. I think they did him very serviceable with the way they portrayed it and the way they killed him. And like I said, it's tied with 84 for my favorite film in the series. I love the design of it, the way he was, portrayed as being melting down when he hits a certain temperature, which is 1200 degrees. And I love the three figures I have of it, the Gigantic, the Sakai, and the 30 centimeter. You have the 25 originally, but I didn't care for it that much. And I actually gave it to a guy I met at G-Fest a couple of years ago. I gave it to him. So, but I love that majority of the figures X Plus have done of it. It's a great design for Godzilla. It was a very apropos end. They did it very well. Figures, my favorite is this Gigantic still. It's still my favorite Burning Godzilla, I think. To me, it's just a different league. It just is. The Destoroyah, though, is a very, very well done figure, in my opinion. Very, very well done. What I would want would be a Junior Gigantic scale, the scale with this Gigantic. I would want him to scale sideways, so I don't know, what would he be, about the 12-inch scale maybe? And then also Gigantic scale to scale with this of the crab form Destoroyah, would probably be 10 inches tall maybe. I'd like to see those two done, but to scale with the Gigantic. I think that would be cool.
All right, Matt, you up next.
This film's 10 out of 10 for me. Love it, beginning to end. Love the acting, love the kaiju action, love the music, love the special effects. The ending, a bit ghoulish, but very interesting way to say goodbye. I love seeing the emotion on everyone's face, especially Mickey's, because it's pretty much the end of her story as well. And then afterwards, we're in Miru. She still has her power. She senses that Godzilla Jr. now is the new Godzilla. That made the hair stand on the back of my neck. Then I love the goodbye little title card they had at the end of it. The Japanese version had the entire version all the way through, where the U.S. cut actually would cut it off after like 20 seconds, which was annoying. But awesome film. The deleted ending, I wish they would have put in the film. I know this isn't canon technically, but where Destoroyah actually gets back up and the two continue fighting, and Godzilla rips off Destoroyah's horn and kills it. I wish that did make the movie, but it didn't because of reasons. Yeah, excellent film, 10 out of 10. Yeah. Favorite collectible that I have as of right now is the 30 centimeter Burning Godzilla. I love the 25 centimeter Destoroyah. It's awesome. Enough's been said about the Burning Godzilla 25 centimeter. As far as future releases, if they're going to do like a favorite sculptures line for Burning Godzilla, I think that'd be like a great way to end it. But then they have to do something really special with it. That's for them to figure out. If not, then like what William said, or is it an evolution set of the children of Godzilla, Junior, Baby, and Little, would be a great idea. So yeah.
All right, it's my turn, and yeah, great film, powerful film. And like what Phillip and Matt said, and William, this was really a big deal. Like, I remember they had a news bit on CNN News about this, that they were actually going to kill Godzilla. And at first I didn't believe it at first, and at that point it would be many years later before I would actually watch the film, but I didn't really believe it. Even on the poster, even on the Japanese poster, on the top right-hand corner, it even says Godzilla dies, right? And I was like, wow. I mean, I wasn't understanding at the time because, of course, they killed him off to make room for TriStar Godzilla. I bet if Toho had a crystal ball, they probably wouldn't have killed Godzilla and Destoroyah. But I always look at this film like if there was a way to have Godzilla go away for good, I always point to this film. All due respect to Mechagodzilla, all due respect to Final Wars. But I think for a character as awesome as Godzilla is, this was like the best way to bring about an end to him. And of course, Matt can appreciate this because he's a wrestling fan, like what they did with Undertaker a couple of years ago. Of course, Undertaker has now come back every now and then and wrestle, but when he fought Roman Reigns at WrestleMania a couple of years ago, and how he lost, and we were all under the impression that was going to be his last match, even though he never really said it was going to be his last match. But the way they did it, with him losing the rings, him in the middle of the ring, the people all over the arena just clapping and crying, because nowadays more wrestling fans are smart to the business. We're more fascinated with the ins and outs of the business than actually the in-ring product itself. So there was a strong rumor going around that was going to be Undertaker's last match. This is like a long-winded way of getting to my point, but you'll see where I'm going with this. So Undertaker, he loses. He's in the ring. They're playing his music on a loop. The people in the crowd are crying. They're clapping and they're giving him the respect that he has deserved. And he puts on his coat and his hat. Then he takes it off, folds it up, takes off his gloves, lays it in the middle of the ring. He goes over and kisses his wife, which is something he has never done on screen. Then he goes up to the ramp, puts his hand up, and they just drop him down on this ramp, and he just disappears in a cloud of smoke. When I look at that, I look at Godzilla's death scene, the Godzilla's Destoroyah. That is just the best way for a character like Godzilla to go out. So if they were to end Godzilla with that film series, with that moment, and not give us Shin, not give us the Legendary Monsterverse, not give us the Millennium series, even though I love those films, if they were to end it with that, I would have been fine with that, because that is like the most epic way for Godzilla to go out. And I always point to this film as pretty much the final Godzilla film, even though it's not by a long shot. But the way they handled it, the way this film ties in with the original 54, the fact that Destoroyah is a byproduct of the original weapon that killed the original Godzilla, the cameo from Dr. Yamane's daughter in the film, you know, the whole story behind Godzilla, he's dying, he's trying to catch up to Junior before he dies. And even his death scene, because, you know, they come to the conclusion that he was going to explode at first. But then after he came across Super X3, you know, it gave him a more horrific death with him melting down. And with him dying through an explosion, it would have been spontaneous. It wouldn't have been no drama with it, you know. But him slowly melting away, dying, and the music, you know, it just made for a dramatic scene because as Godzilla fans, it's like we're suffering along with him. This is a symbol of our childhood. And a lot of us, you know, YouTubing and blogging, it's just a symbol of a character that has meant so much to us just dissolving away. And it's like at that moment when they say, you know what, he's not going to explode, before they find out that he was going to melt down, every time I watch Godzilla Destoroyah, I always had that glimmer of hope that somehow, some way, they find a way to save him. It's like I know the outcome, but I always expect something different, which is obviously the definition of insanity. But this is how powerful the story is, where it always makes me believe that they find a way to save him. And then at the end, you know, and they don't save him. And then when they finally get to that moment, even though the CGI is kind of questionable, but still, as a Godzilla fan, how can you not feel anything when watching Godzilla just melt away and he just disappears into like a burst of energy? And the way that energy just carries into Junior and he becomes the new Godzilla and the movie ends right there on that cliffhanger. Once again, that's like the best way to end the story on a character as powerful as Godzilla. So once again, a great film, a powerful film, a great film to end the Heisei series, but a great way to end the character. And so many great things I can say about this film, but it's a powerful film, emotional film. And once again, it's the perfect way for Godzilla to go out. My favorite collectible is obviously the Gigantic, with this guy coming at a close second. Of course, I want to see a flying destroyer, but at the same time, you know what? I wouldn't mind them doing a rebirth Godzilla, like a 30-centimeter rebirth Godzilla, like have the same structure as the Burning Godzilla, but give him really regular Heisei colors. And maybe have the red come with like a small in-scale Godzilla Jr. and show what happened before and after he got irradiated at the end. I think that would be cool. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it. We are done with this discussion of the Heisei films and our favorite collectibles. Once again, thank you so much to William, Phillip, and Matt. But before we go, I got some rapid fire questions before we get up out of here. Thank you for everybody in the chat for being part of this discussion and y'all talking amongst yourselves. This is the reason why I do this, just to have fun and, you know, just to have a good time with everybody. You know what I mean? This has been an awesome experience. And trust me, the con discussion is coming at some point to know when. But the next discussion will be actually next weekend, where myself, Jeremy Souls, my wife, beautiful wife Sandra, and a couple of people are going to get together, and we're going to have a Godzilla vs. Kong discussion. And so join in for that too, and pick a side. Which side which monster are you going for next year? Are you going for Kong or are you going for Godzilla? Which one do you think will win in next year's epic rematch, courtesy of the Monsterverse? But before we go, some rapid fire questions. Okay. To William, Phillip, Matt, what is your favorite kaiju aside from Godzilla himself in the Heisei period?
I'm gonna go with the second form of Biollante, which is great looking. I love her and all her craziness.
Phillip, go for
it. Final form Destroyer.
Matt?
Final form Destoroyah, because it's pretty much death incarnate coming back to claim Godzilla again.
My favorite is 91 King Ghidorah. Duh. Your favorite version of the Heisei Godzilla? Suit design.
I'm going to go with 89.
Phillip?
84. That was hard
Matt,
because
go ahead.
91 Hokkaido.
Yeah, me too. 91. What is your favorite X Plus collectible from the Heisei series? You can only pick one. You can't pick 2 or 3 or 4. In other words, like I mentioned, if a fire breaks out in your house, which one are you grabbing first? Don't cheat by saying you're gonna grab 2 of them. You got to pick one.
No.
What is your favorite?
you got 2 hands.
I know exactly which one I'd pick. I just want to say real quick. I have one question for everybody before we leave. But I would take Biollante, hands down.
Okay.
I would grab her as quickly as possible.
Phillip. Duh.
95.
Matt.
I'd fight the fire with my bare hands.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
You know me, being sometimes the butthole I can be, I would actually visit Matt in the hospital and say, "Hey, give me a hand."
I
Oh,
do too.
Hey, give me a hand.
Still alive.
William.
Burning.
I didn't pick mine. Oh, my favorite. It's a toss up between 89 Gigantic and the Burning Godzilla. I'm probably gonna go with the Gigantic Burning Godzilla, even though I love the 89. William, did you want to ask your question first, or you want to go with the last question and then go?
I'll let you go. I'll let you go with the last question, just in case you're going to ask my question.
Okay. And the last question is: rank your favorite Heisei films in order from your favorite to your least favorite.
Okay.
William, go.
Biollante, Ghidorah. I'm gonna say Return, Mechagodzilla, Destoroyah, Mothra, and SpaceGodzilla.
Phillip, go ahead.
84, 95, 93, 91, 89, then the last 2, SpaceGodzilla, and then 92. 92 is last.
Matt, go for it.
Ghidorah, Destoroyah, 84, 93, SpaceGodzilla, then Mothra.
All right, mine is King Ghidorah, Biollante, 1985, Destoroyah, Mechagodzilla, SpaceGodzilla, and Mothra 92. And William, what's your question, my man?
So we kind of touched on it just a little bit. We spoke briefly about the Heisei Gamera trilogy, and for the most part, I think everyone kind of says this is the one time where the Gamera movies were on par with Godzilla or better, depending on who you ask. So my question to you guys is: if you take your top 3 favorite Heisei Godzilla films, are they better than the Gamera trilogy, or is the Gamera trilogy still better? Now, this is a hard one.
Actually, I'll go first. I say even with the best Godzilla films, I still find the Gamera Heisei films just the better films. And I say that because the Gamera Heisei films, they gotten better in terms of story and special effects as time went along. They didn't just revamp like classic foes. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to say Toho was wrong for doing that. But once again, as I mentioned earlier, they kind of lost steam with their creativity midway through the Heisei series. With Gamera, they got better. And I think Gamera was also smarter for doing such a simple and just a really short story arc with just 3 movies versus like 7. You know what I'm saying? But obviously they did 7 because Godzilla is more popular than Gamera.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll always see this notion that because Godzilla made more films, because that automatically makes them better. I look at the films as far as like story, special effects, creative monsters, and to me, even though I love, and it's actually the 3 I would put up against the Gamera Heisei films, are really like either the first three, 84 Biollante for sure, and I probably flip flop between King Ghidorah and Destoroyah to go up against the Gamera series. But even when I do that, I still prefer the Gamera Heisei film series. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? It kind of brings things back to full circle, because when you look at the Showa series, Godzilla clearly had the better Showa series than Gamera. Gamera's Showa series, even though they're fun, they came off a little bit somewhat embarrassing in comparison to the Godzilla one. So I think when it comes to Heisei, I think Gamera was due that just respect. But that's how I look at it.
Phil, go ahead. You can go.
Yeah, I'd have to go with Gamera too. All three of them movies, I think each one's better than the previous one. And like we said, in the middle of the Heisei era, there was kind of a dip with the overall story and quality of the movies. Each one of them Gamera movies they're amazing. I think they are above the top three of the Heisei Godzilla movies. They're really good. The stories in them are good. I mean, there are some similarities with the girl in the Gamera movies that kind of communicates with Gamera, like Miki does with Godzilla, but it's just the stories are all linked and they continue right with each other, but in my opinion, they got better and better from 95 to 96 to 99. It was really well, and they need to somehow bring Gamera back. Mm-hmm. He deserves to come back. I really do. I would love to see them make some more Gamera movies.
Okay. Matt?
Okay, this is giving an unpopular opinion. That's fine. I'm gonna raise, and I think Godzilla vs. Destoroyah is better than all three Gamera films.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my opinion, emotional wise, I like Godzilla vs. Destoroyah than all three. Now, as far as the other films, I see what you're saying. But as far as emotional wise, being Godzilla and his demise, that film spoke to me more than the Gamera films did. Now, I enjoyed the Gamera films. Actually, I really liked Gamera Guardian of the Universe, actually, the most out of the three of those. I love what they did with him and his new origins and what they did with Gauss. Now, I like Legion and Iris as well, but I really like that one. But for me, Godzilla vs. Destoroyah is one of the best films, especially in the Heisei series. So, yeah, unpopular opinion. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for that other place, but that's what I do. That's the truth.
Okay. I guess for me, it's a toss-up. It really depends, but I'm going to kind of echo what everyone's saying. I just think those Gamera films were just so well done, and they build on top of each other, and that's something that I really do like. It's a neat little trilogy, and it has a beginning, middle, and end, and there's no real dip in quality. You might say the CGI at the end of part 3, but that Gamera trilogy, and I've never been that big of a fan of Gamera, really opened my eyes to the possibility of how cool a Gamera film could be if done right. So, slight edge, I think, to Gamera when it comes to the Heisei period, just because they were just so well done.
And that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for being a part of this discussion. Once again, thank you to William, Phillip, Matt. Once again, I'm sorry for changing up the last minute. But once again, y'all came through, and this is something I've really been wanting to talk about for a long time. Huge special shout out to my wife. She made a grand appearance earlier on. You'll see her again come next week on our newest live stream, Godzilla vs. Kong. And we're going to talk about the older film as well. So pick a side come next week. But once again, go to the Godzilla Files here on YouTube. Check them out. Great content. Give them a sub. The same thing goes for Phillip Frazier, Phil the Kaiju King, and of course, Gojira A51. Awesome cats. Awesome YouTube channels. Awesome, great content. They have done great things for the hobby, and y'all should definitely go to their channels and give them a sub. Very, very, very informative reviews, video game playthroughs, commentaries, random Godzilla and Kaiju topics that they discuss on their channels. I can't recommend these guys enough. So please go to their individual channels. Once again, William Fett from the Godzilla Files, Phillip Frazier, the Kaiju King, and of course, Godzilla 851, Matt Jacobson. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much. Of course, y'all will see them some more in future live streams. I'm planning on doing a live stream dedicated to the Millennium films and our favorite collectibles from the Millennium films. I'm planning on doing a Yuji Sakai X Plus live stream discussion. I'm planning on doing a live stream discussion devoted to Gamera. I'm probably going to split that up, probably do half of the a good majority of the Showa Gamera series, then like do the latter half and then do the Heisei, you know, whatever. I'm planning on doing a gigantic series live stream at some point. I'm probably going to do that once 2019 comes out, you know, whatever. I'm also in talks with John Stanowski from Kaiju Addicts, and we're going to try and get all these guys together where we can have a figure of the year live stream for as X Plus towards the end of the year, which is something that's never been done before, where we're all going to get together and we're going to talk about all the major releases X Plus has done this year. And on that live stream, with the help with the folks on the X Plus Collectibles Facebook group, we're going to determine on that live stream what will be the figure of the year. And right now, considering what they have brought out so far and what is coming, this is going to be like one of the hardest contests that has ever been done. Because like I said, between the Sakai 95, the Gigantic 89, the Sakai 2002, the upcoming Gigantic 2019, the new 2000, if you want to throw in the 64 King
Ghidorah.
You know what I'm saying? X or all the other monsters, Orga that's coming out real soon. Yes, this is going to be a real hard decision to make, but that's what me and Johnson now are in talks of. So hopefully once I get more information, it'll be towards the tail end of the year. I probably would say around December, but once I get more information about that, as well as the con discussion, and we were going to do that at some point, I would definitely let y'all know. So once again, thank you, William. Thank you, Phillip. Thank you, Godzilla 851. Thank you for everybody in the chat. We really do appreciate it. And once again, as I always say at the end of my videos, I thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all again on this Figure Move review. All right. Y'all take it easy. See, hold on.